All right, guys, we're going to be moving on to a new portion of the set now, and this is going to be, just grip fighting. So that now that we've gotten down our positions and some transitions and the key spots and ideas that we're going to be using throughout the rest of the series, and in general, we're going to be working on how to defeat different grips in different scenarios that can kind of run us into a problem. What I want you guys to think of grips as roadblocks. We run ourselves into trouble, and we have to figure out a way to get through. It's like I come up to a door. How can I pass it? If the door's open, I just say, hey, I'll walk right on through. What if the door's closed? I'm like, oh, open the handle, boom, go through. Then let's say, for instance, the door's locked. Well, then I have to pick the lock or bash the door down. Now, let's say, for instance, it's a really strong door. Like, it's a type of door that I can barrel into, I can hit it with a sledgehammer. There is no way I am forcibly just manhandling my way through this door. Well, then the only thing left is one of two things, and that's pick the lock or just hope that somebody on the other side opens it up. Picking the lock would be breaking the grip. Hoping that somebody on the other side opens it up is just hoping that they do something really stupid and take away their defense, which people will do from time to time, by the way, guys, but it's certainly not something you want to bank on. It's like assuming that you're going to be bigger and stronger and more athletic than the other person. Not a good operating assumption, because what if you're not? So when it comes to passing the guard in this situation or in any situation, guys, we're looking to engage our opponent and close the gap and start to break grips. Now, before we get into any sort of gi specific stuff, guys, body movement is the key. And I'd like to deal with hooks first. So when Seth here is on the bottom, I'm going to approach the guard standing this time, guys, just so that we can get this drilled down. Now, there's more than one way to do this, but the best way, the quickest way is going to be using mobility style passing when we're looking to defeat these hooks. So here I am, and Seth is going to make butterfly hooks inside of my legs. As you guys know, now it's not necessarily going to stay here. Usually if we're talking about a higher level guy, he's going to slide to one leg X, or he's going to do whatever else, he's going to go underneath. But it all started, guys, with this position. And if I don't address this well, I'm in a lot of trouble. So again, what are our rules? We stay stable. I'm looking for pressure when I can. Pressure is my weapon. Stable and structure. So right now I feel pretty stable. I'm on my feet. Very important, guys. Notice I'm not on my toes. That adds an extra joint of motion to my leg. Very important to be on your feet, your flats of your feet. Now I can have a little bit of weight on my toes, but do not be up on your toes. Sometimes people will teach that. I really would disagree with it. What I want you guys to work on right now is simply you want to be circling your legs to the inside and the outside. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to pin Seth's shin rather, to the back of his thigh. And I'm going to rotate my foot to the inside, stepping deep to block the De La Riva hook. Now, again, if I start to walk here, notice how Seth's leg blocks me. If I try to walk the other way, he catches. Now, let's say you only have one hook, Seth. Which direction can I safely walk? I can safely walk towards my right because there's no opposing hook on my left. But let's say, again, I'm a righty guard passer, which means that I prefer to move to my left. What do I do? I'm like, and if I start stepping around, this is when I can really get off balance. You'll see people trying to outreach, guys, and man, that's going to get me in a lot of trouble, particularly if I'm shorter. So what we're going to do is I'm going to start with one hand on the knee and one hand on the rib cage. Just relax. As you get better, you're going to be able to do this without the use of your hands. Now, bottom player is going to make hooks below your knee. Very important. He's making strong hooks. As we've discussed in prior series, guys, flaccid should never be a word that describes a hook that you're using. It should really be stuck in there so that I can't step off. Now, I'm dropping my knee, and I'm simply using my mass. Notice I'm not tense. I'm very relaxed. I'm stable, and I'm leaning my knee down onto Seth's shin. What this is going to do is it's going to hold it in place as I rotate my foot to the inside and take a deep step. If I take a shallow step, guys, he's going to go to a De La Riva hook. Not the end of the world. We can deal with that, but not really what we're looking for. So again, I put my knee down and I rotate to the inside, taking a strong step. Now notice how I've pointed my body in the same direction that I stepped. What this has done is it's caught my other leg to rotate inside. And now notice, I could easily drop into any number of our base passing positions that will allow me to really start to make progress in Seth's guard. But if I had ignored his hooks in the first place, man, I'm not going to make any headway. You absolutely must, guys, at a high level, rob your opponent of his ability to grab you, because if at a high level I let you get what you want to do, if I let you get your grips, you're going to get me. People are too good, they're too skilled, they're too fast, they're too strong. You cannot let them have the means to hurt you. I don't want to give you bullets in the gun and let you have a shot at me. I want to say, hey, I'm going to take the bullets out of your gun, and I don't care how good of a shot you are. Don't matter who you are, you can't shoot at me. So one last time here. I rotate to the inside, and I rotate to the inside. Now, if we rotate a little bit so you guys can see again, see I'm pressuring in, my weight is directly into Seth's knee. Notice from the back. My weight's directly into Seth's ankle, rather. I circle and I step forward. I circle and I step forward. If you're having a little bit of difficulty with this, guys, what you can do is make it a little bit easier, because this is, honestly, it takes a little bit to get the hang of this sometimes. What I would recommend is simply dropping your knee to the floor on the inside of his shin. So notice, right down through here, my knee is simply going to drop to the floor, and then I can step up. I can drop to the floor, and then I can step up. Not as combatively effective, not really what we're looking for, but it's a good way to start to learn the pressure in the beginning. So if we come back, 1, 2, and notice how I can start to drop into all of my positions. So again, a very, very important grip fighting motion is the ability to defeat your opponent's hooks. Don't even worry about passing and this and that. If you let me wrap you up, you will not pass my guard. If you don't let me wrap you up, you stand a very good chance of beating me. All right, guys, our next grip breaking sequence is going to involve shin circling again, but this time it's rather than going to the inside, we're going to go to the outside. And you can connect these two things very effectively and very well. The best person that I've ever seen with this is Murilo Santana. He's an incredible guard passer, absolutely incredible. If you guys get to watch, I mean, in addition to guard and all that other stuff too, but if you guys ever get to check him out online, watch his matches, he's incredibly accomplished, someone that people don't really know a lot about. But someone that has made a phenomenal impact on my game, from a technical perspective, as well as just a competitive one and thought process. So again, I really would recommend taking a look at how he does this, because I do it pretty well. He does it better. So here we are, we're passing. If you notice, guys, I went from outside to the inside. Now, when I'm wrestling, I'm almost always going to have my hands on my opponent. But for the purposes of the drill, you can start to, you can close your eyes and do it without your hands, just getting used to moving around and being able to defeat hooks. The key is I want to have my hands free to do other stuff. You see, guys, most people don't move very well, so they grab and yank around and they try to throw the legs by. People that move well, they let you grab them and they move around through you. They want you to punch at them. It's like Floyd Mayweather. He doesn't care if you try to hit him. That's the point. He wants you to try to hit him, and that's when he's going to pop you in the head. I mean, among other times, he'll also punch you in the head. But basically, the better movement and the better grip-breaking ability that I have, the less specific my sequence has to be, and as a result, the more effective. Because if I'm only looking for one thing, it can be pretty tough. So what I want you guys to do here is we'll start on the outside again. I shin circle inside. Now, imagine I was stepping across to the knee-through pass. And we'll get into the specifics of different sequences that I'm a big fan of later on, just to, kind of different little pieces of ideas for you. But you can run into the reverse De La Riva position, or sometimes you simply run into a block. People will turn their knee sideways. This was a little bit popular a couple years ago. I don't see it quite as much these days, but Mike Fowler is actually someone that was came up a little bit ahead of me that uses this position very effectively to stop the knee through guard pass, and I can have to worry about the sweep. So I'd really prefer not to get caught here. So what I'm going to do is I circle to the inside. One, as I step across, I'm bringing Seth's knee a little bit further in than he wanted it. And it's very, very important that he doesn't get above my knee. I want my knee on top of his shin. Now I'm going to circle again, and notice how it puts me into the leg drag. We'll get into the specifics of this pass in different sequences again a little bit later on in the series. But the key is, anybody, dude, if I get here, I expect to pass anybody. It's not that I think I'm so sweet. It's that the position is so strong that, even if it's, let's say, 8, 9 out of 10, that's a phenomenal percentage against someone of such a high level. If let's say you're wrestling like an A+ level black belt, I expect to win here every single time. In the same way, I would expect anyone to win against me in the same situation more times than not. So I circle 1, start stepping, circle 2. Now, what you can do, guys, is turn this into a little bit of a drill. I can circle inside, circle back out, and I'm like, let me circle back in, start to move, I'll let Seth get his hooks back. Moving around my opponent's guard, looking to get myself either outside, and again, let's say, for instance, I get myself outside, how does this fit into everything else we're doing? I'm circling outside, Seth throws his leg up around me, not that one, but the other. Let's say just throw it over your head. It's a little bit tougher for Seth. Let's say, for instance, if we switch for a second, watch when Seth does it to me. You'll get it a lot more times on some really flexible guy. So when Seth circles 1 and then circles 2, and then I'm like, shit. And he immediately drops into his knee overpass. Well, I would have done it differently, but you get the idea. So basically, guys, the key is understanding what the options are. So one more time, actually, so you can see again. 1, 2. But again, if I'm dropping into my leg drag, I'm not going to let you do that. You're toast. As I'm dropping into my leg drag, if he's smart, he doesn't try to bring this leg. I'll be goddamn if I'm going to let that happen. He throws this leg over his head, blocking my path this way. What Seth was looking to do, guys, is continue to block my path out here because I'm unobstructed beyond his arms. So what people will try to do is get this knee back. But again, flexible guy, let's say before I was able to close the gap and get in front of him, throws that open. I go, ah. And I land myself right back into one of our standard passing positions. So as you'll notice, what Seth did wasn't wrong at all either. He dropped into a fantastic passing position as well. And what it goes to illustrate is simply that there's no form, there's no exact like, oh, I do it like this, or oh, I do it like that. When people swear up and down to you that you got to grip here and rotate, honestly, in my experience, that's not been the key. There's so many A-level guys that do so many different things, a little bit here, a little bit there. I want to look at the things that make us all the same, and I say, hey, all right, it's this position, it's the structure, it's this angle. It's not the, oh, I like to do this pass, I like to do that pass. It's all entirely situational. So again, your ability to defeat hooks is going to be instrumental in getting you into the positions where you have the time and the calm necessary to read the guard and utilize the appropriate tool to defeat it. All right, guys, our next method of defeating a hook is going to be done from a little bit closer in, and really the key to this one is going to be moving in the same direction as the hook. If you try to run away from things, a lot of times they don't work. I don't want to back away from your hook. I want to let you start to lift me and then take your leg to full extension. If you guys have ever played golf before, what you'll notice is, of course, that there's a flag, right, inside of the cup, and then in the cup there's a little weight in the bottom that holds the flag in. And this thing's what, like 2 pounds? Nothing. It's nothing. But you hold that thing up, you're fine. You could sit there for an hour. I said, hey, I'll give you $500 if you sit there for an hour. Yeah, sure. Okay, now if I tell you to hold the flag end of the whole deal, and now the stick is what, 6, 7 feet long maybe? You hold the flag out with the 1 pound weight on the end. You're not going to be able to hold that for an hour. I could say I give you $1 million. You're not going to hold it out for an hour. It's just not going to happen because the leverage and the displaced weight being so far away from you effectively makes it much, much, much heavier than it's only 1 or 2 pounds. So what I want you guys to realize is that when I'm close to my body with a hook, I can lift pretty effectively. Or I can lift as effectively as I can lift. Maybe I can lift you, maybe I can't. We'll find out. But I'm as strong as I can be when we're in close. If you take my leg out here, no one is going to leg extend the weight of a grown adult person with one leg. It's just not going to happen if we're even close to the same size. And now let's say, for instance, jiu-jitsu is one of those lovely sports where weight classes don't always exist, which is fantastic because what it means is that we have to develop superior technique because I can't get used to bullying anyone because even if I could bully, let's say, for instance, Seth, if that were possible, because we're about the same size, there's no way I could bully a much bigger version of Seth. I'd have to approach him very differently. So in a scenario, guys, where you're not able to lift, where you're not able to simply stop the other person from lifting you, all you're going to do is make them do reps. So they push you away, push you away, push you away, because even if I can lift you once or twice out here, my leg is not meant for it. We're very, very far from the body, and I'm going to get very tired. So even if you're dealing with a bigger, stronger person, this is still the same method. It just may take more than one shot in order for you to pass their guard. So if Seth's on bottom here, what we're going to simply do to defeat the hook is, as Seth lifts, he's looking to dump me right about here. What I'm going to do is go back and make his leg come to the back far corner. So as he lifts, I'll post, and I'm not, if I stay close, see how you can turn me? That's no good. I'm drawing myself backwards and away, and I'm looking to get my hips on, if we rotate, the outside face of Seth's knee. So Seth's knee is effectively a shield, guys, that I can't get around. As he attempts to lift me, it's going to extend. And as his leg extends, it stops becoming an effective shield. Watch this. Knee is very high. As you extend, knee comes low. Once the knee comes low, I'm climbing over a low wall. As we described earlier in the series, climbing over a low wall is much, much easier than climbing over a high one. Even if you can climb the high one, I'd rather climb the low one. It's less effort. So if we come back, as Seth starts to lift, I'm dropping my hip far away, and if you guys will notice, I'm on the outside of Seth's knee. Now, this isn't a really big part of the series that we're going over right now. We're focusing on other positions, but the idea of being able to defeat your opponent's hooks is so important. It can be done any number of ways. You can end up on the backside of the leg drag over here. There's a lot of different scenarios that you could follow up from this position, but the basic idea is now, again, if we switch for a second, so Seth's turn. As I attempt to lift, you're simply just going with it. If you try to fight my hook and lean into me, I'm going to tilt you. But watch. Even here, Seth, pulse your head. And watch. She's going to drive off of this side, going far away and drop. Now I can't lift him. Now being a little close to me like this is dangerous. He wants to be all the way out on the end of my knee. Now there's no way I can move you. Very, very important. Slide up towards my hip, please, Seth. I can start to tilt him. Now, of course, Seth wouldn't be so accommodating if we were actually training or if we were actually competing. But, again, leverage being what it is, get away from this guy's hip. I want to control your hip, but now is not the time to be up here. I'm controlling your hip via a lever, heavy, heavy, heavy on the knee. You get a little too low, no good. If we go below the knee can be freed. But if you want to control my hip, you stay right here. So, again, one more time, as I try to sweep Seth, see how he stays low and he's right on my knee. I'm like, this sucks. Now move behind, please. So watch his shin circle. Moving himself behind into the leg drag. Fantastic position for Seth. So again, this is just one of a series of options. And really, again, you're limited only by your imagination and whatever the other guy's doing. There's no set, oh, I'm going to go the following 9-step move. It's just we're getting outside, defeating that hook. As I try to lift, you walk far away, and you're going to have a pretty easy time of stopping that sweep. Now, here's the thing. Imagine I'm still able to sweep you from out here. Well, hey, that's just the way it goes sometimes. If you're 110 pounds and I'm 250 pounds and I'm big and strong and good, that's a rough way to be, man. You can still win, but understand that if I could sweep you out here, I would have sent you through the roof over here. So you're still getting the best bang for your buck. And even if I swept you once, remember, that doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to beat you. You can do it again and again, and I'm going to start to get tired. And if I have that strength edge, it will fade over time, and you'll be able to effectively pass my guard. All right, guys, continuing on our grip breaks, we're going to find ourselves tangled up in the De La Riva guard very frequently, particularly in modern jiu-jitsu. The De La Riva and reverse De La Riva, the evolution of that position has been an incredible, thing, really, I think. And, there's guys that have been doing it well for some time, but, the really people that I see pushing it forward, super well, obviously, Cobrinha, the Mendes brothers, the Meow twins coming up, or I guess they're not twins, but the Meow brothers coming up, doing really, really neat things with the Berimbolo and really neat things with all these hooks. If you get tangled up in there, it can be a problem. And it's very, very important, guys, that, again, we understand that an ounce of prevention is better than a pound of the cure. If you let me get a hold of you, I'm going to fuck you up. It's just the way that it is, If I can't trust that someone at a high level is going to make a mistake. If you let Roger Gracie mount you, it doesn't mean you give up. But expect to get finished, man. How often does that guy make a mistake? I would say, even if they're there, they're small. And in a position like that, his positioning is so strong, the mount versus the bottom mount, that really it takes a pretty big drop of the ball for the bottom player to get himself out of there safely. So again, it's very, very important that I start to deny you what you need to hurt me rather than say, oh, I've got this magic counter, because I see that kind of stuff on the internet every now and then, and generally speaking, it just makes me want to facepalm. It's just, it shows, I believe, in a misunderstanding of the situation, and that's allowing you to control me first and then going, which I would say is a little bit backwards. So the way that we're going to defeat the De La Riva and the way that we're going to defeat the reverse De La Riva are very similar. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a little bit of distance between us, and there's more than one way to do this. There are certain counters, again, that we're going to show later on where it's, hey, I let you part way into your sweep and then boom, I go. But if I want it to be as safe as I can possibly be, I'm going to play it just like a Roger Gracie, a Aurelio Estima, Andre Galvao, Marcelo Garcia. You watch these guys break grips, break grips, break grips, and then immediately they move themselves into their pass. It's no accident that they're as successful as they are because they don't let other people get going. Because again, if you let someone get going, even if you're a little bit more experienced, a little bit better, man, once you get to a certain level, guys are too good to allow that. So let's say we'll start in the De La Riva. Ordinarily, guys, I'd like to take a very deep step here. I'd like to take a very deep step. Like, I'm not letting you sit on my foot and grab my ankle and all that shit because this will not work. Nothing works if I let you do that. Like, go to the ideal De La Riva position. Like, I suck if I'm letting you do this. This should not happen. And so, hey, we all start somewhere. But basically, again, if I grab you like this, I will sweep you. So we cannot allow that to happen. I'm taking a step in. But let's say Seth gets a hold of my ankle in De La Riva. The more that I pressure in, the more I give strength to this hook. not what I'm looking to do. What do, guys, when you encounter a roadblock? You either unlock it, if you can, you move it, or you go around, or you power through. But if I power through this position, all that it means is either A, I'm physically well beyond you, like, and it's not a fair fight, or B, I'm much, much, much beyond you technique-wise, and it's really more you're dropping the ball. It's like you have me in your crosshairs and you just missed. I wouldn't recommend relying on that. So what we're gonna do instead is I'm gonna pop my leg backwards. We can break grips and do all that other stuff, but the key in this position is simply, there's two things. There's this hook and there's this leg. My number one concern in this position is getting this foot off of me. So I step to the inside. You'll notice, guys, certain people like JT Torres are really, really successful at making deep hooks, and making an X. You know, I can get in a lot of trouble. This can be pretty rough. So what I want you guys to do instead is we're going to focus on this hook, but we're going to deny this leg first. So I can step to the inside, but it's very, very important. I do not let you start to press my hip away because it robs me of my ability to do other things that I'd like to do. So if we come back, I make sure that this foot is not on my hip and not pushing my knee out. Even if you have a hook on me, pull me in, I'm fine. But as long as you can't stretch me with this one, again, don't worry, don't get me wrong, I prefer not to have this hook. I'd rather be on the inside here. But now that I'm not getting harassed by this leg, I can address the following. I'll pop my thigh back, and I can drop my hand in between me and Seth. What I'm looking to do is simply deny him the ability to put his hook back where it was. Because if I pop the hook off, it's like I go, make a collar grip, I'm like, yeah. Well, what you're gonna do, it gets around, like, ah, crap. We'll get to this in a second, but once it goes, it stays gone. So, here we are. I said, get off me. I pop my thigh back, and I drop my hand down in between me and Seth. Can you put that hook back, please? Even if you scoot your hip out to the side. No, I'm not going to allow that hook to come back in, so rotate. Again, I'm moving backwards, and I'm making no profile. I'm taking his toes. As I drive in, I make a very stable spot for his hook. No good. Go backwards, drop. One more time. Start to stretch me out with that. I'm like, get my sleeve and everything. I'm like, this sucks. We can get into breaking later on. But now, again, I'm trying to get rid of this hook. Nope. Go backwards, down. Alternatively, guys, if you do get stretched out, I can recede all the way to here and break the grip from far away. If you find yourself all the way up high, man, I'm so vulnerable to being swept. Notice how I'm projecting over space. I'm very off balance. I'm going to get lifted. It's no good. Settle back. Pull me over your head now.
No way.
What are you going to do? I don't give a shit. You could be fucking cyborg. You can't lift me. I'm too far over here. I extend, put my hand in between, and now I'll return to a passing situation that doesn't have me bottled up the same way. So defeating that De La Riva hook, guys, is extremely important. You must be able to shed your opponent's grips so that he doesn't have an effective guard, because again, guys, the guard is a really, really great position provided they're allowed to get a hold of you. So if you can, guys, stop them from getting a hold of you. All right, guys, our next grip break is going to be on the sleeves. Now, it seems simple, and it seems like, oh, man, who really cares? But I tell you, man, being able to break every grip intelligently and effectively is extremely critical. A lot of guys, we like to focus on the cool parts of the game and submissions and jumping around and 9-step moves, but hey, man, if I can't grab you, it's extremely difficult for me to be effective. A great example of someone that breaks grips very effectively is Augusto Mendes Tanquinho. And, you know, he's had a phenomenal, return at featherweight. Really, actually, it was pretty cool to watch after he, won the world championship this year, coming back from a neck injury, which is awesome. He's a great example of someone that very effectively controls his opponent's ability to access him. And what that does is it keeps him safe. And we're going to look to do the exact same thing. When your opponent grips your sleeves, the most common grips, guys, are going to be kind of this, pistol grip that you'll see every so often. I never felt very comfortable with it, and I think it's a little bit tough to get, particularly with the cheater gis that a lot of people wear. Not really cheating, technically speaking, but they are not giving you. You don't have big old judo style sleeves. You'll have guys that come out with gis that are very, very tough to get a hold of. So it's not wrong. It's a very powerful grip, and some people use it. We can show how to defeat that as well. But the most common grip in my experience, and also the one that I'm personally a little bit most comfortable with, is going to be, I guess, the forefinger, the hook grip, or the cat's paw grip, however you'd like to call it. And being able to defeat that is absolutely critical. Now, there's two paths for this. So if I can get a hold of my sleeve here. Basically, just grab my sleeve. No, that. All right. So basically, there's two paths: in and out. That's it. There's in and there's out. And your ability to understand pressure and how to swim one way or the other is extremely important. This can be broken a number of different ways, and you can pop the grip with your hands. So like, let's actually show this really quickly. You can, if Seth shows me his knuckles, I'm going to take my palm and nail his sleeve or nail his knuckles as I yank my arm away. Not wrong, a great way to break the grip, but for right now I'd like to show something that doesn't involve quite as much, smashing on your training partner's knuckles. It's going to be just simple rotations, kind of Aikido-ish. And what's going to happen is Seth is going to either be able to, actually let me get your sleeve. Seth is going to either defend the outside, so roll your hand outside of mine. So I'm stopping him from doing that, guys, by bringing my hand low. Roll your hand inside. Very over the top, very simple. Okay, roll your hand inside. Roll your hand outside. You can come over the top. But what we're looking to do is the following. Watch. Seth gets a hold of my sleeve. If I can, I'm going to make a C grip. I'm opening the web of my hand, and I'm pushing across. If you guys want to learn how to break grips, don't watch jiu-jitsu, guys. Watch judo. Always watch the highest level of what's going on. And believe me, judo players have ridiculous grips. Not only are they specific and technical, but they're inhumanly strong because that's a big thought of the sport. So the best gripping guys that I've seen in jiu-jitsu, are generally speaking like spider guardy people. Guys like Romulo Barral are phenomenal, obviously, because they're very grip reliant in a very positive way. So you can see how they like to deal with grips and how they break grips and how they control grips, and also watch matches against people like that, because anyone that's able to have any success against someone as good as Romulo with the grips like that, that they're doing something right. So I'm going to rotate and push through in order to claim the top position on the grip. Alternatively, what I can do to defeat the power of this grip is come over top. I don't necessarily need to dominate the grip. I don't need to necessarily break his grip, but I always need to dominate Seth's level of access to me. So if we come back, let's say I'm passing reverse De La Riva or something like that. It doesn't really matter what situation. If Seth gets a hold of my sleeve, it should go. Even if I say, as we get better and better, guys, we can start letting certain grips come into play. And I'm like, oh, he's just grabbing my sleeve in a way that doesn't matter. Oh, he's just grabbing my lapel. Let's say you grab my lapel down here. This doesn't really do anything. You grab it down here with your right hand. Doesn't really do anything. I'm like, oh, okay, I can ignore that grip. But let's say I was a white belt or blue belt or purple belt and I'm not quite as sure. Everything goes. In the beginning, guys, I recommend breaking all grips. Simply because, honestly, if you're white or blue belt, you're not experienced enough to make good choices most times. Like in boxing, I'm not, I practice all the time, but I know that I'm a beginner, so I don't trust my ability to do crazy stuff because I know that I'm going to make mistakes. So I say, hey, rather than always thinking like, oh, okay, I'm going to slip this one, let that one go, I'm going to try to defend every punch in the beginning, and then eventually, as I get better, I'll be able to make better reads. So if we're here, if Seth gets a deep grip, one that actually works, please. Yeah, a deep grip, that's got to go. No matter what. Why? Because he can control my posture, he can control the things. If he gets a sleeve grip, it's here. I'm like, whatever, I'll ignore him. If you get a cross sleeve grip, I'm like, oh, I don't like that one. Why? Because he's controlling my access to him. I can't reach around him. Now I feel redirected to the side. As you get more and more experience, guys, again, you're going to be able to make these reads on your own. But for right now, what I would recommend is simply breaking every grip. I feel, I have a hard time, There's his knuckles. Boom. Seth gets a hold of my sleeve. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm going to C grip and break across. And you'll see these all the time, but now the worst thing that can happen to some of those guys is you get stretched out 19 different ways and you have to break 4 or 5 grips in order to be successful. So what I want you guys to do is when you're approaching the game and when you're approaching the guard, every single grip that comes your way in the beginning, take it away. As opposed to, I start to walk in and get like super grips. I'm like, yeah, let me start breaking this grip. I can't even think about doing that. I'm so out of balance. I have no structure. I have no stability. I have no pressure. I have to break this grip, then I have to break that grip, then I have to break that grip, then I have to break that grip. There's 4 things in play. So it's very, very important, guys. Again, in the beginning, approach cautiously and approach with stability. In order to break grips, I do need my stability more than anything else. Grab. I'm off balance and I can't really do much. I can break his sleeve grips relatively easily. So what I want you guys to do, again, break every single grip you can. If you can't see, if I can't rotate 1 or 2, grab a cross grip. I'll palm striking break his grip. But again, we have 1, 2, or 3 to be able to deal with the sleeve grip. We'll get into the lapel grip next. But for right now, guys, break every single grip that comes your way. As you get more and more experience and as you start to drop into your specific passes that you like, you'll be able to say, this grip doesn't matter. Oh, that grip does. I'll break the one that does. I'll ignore the one that doesn't. All right, guys, the next grip that we're going to be discussing how to break is going to be the lapel grip. Now, there's a series of different variety. The most common, I would say, is probably going to be your cross lapel grip. Reason being is not only do you have the threat of control of posture, but you also have the loop choke, the cross choke, collar drags, things like that, and you'll see people playing off of the omoplata. Now, at the same time, other people will use different positions, and this again goes a little bit beyond the scope of my knowledge because I'm not, terribly, proficient from the spider guard, honestly. But guys like Romulo Barral, you'll see playing here on this lapel, and it serves the same purpose, although it doesn't have, and then every now and then a guy, a judo player that's phenomenal named Flavio Canto, plays here as well and has a really, really cool choke that, again, I can kind of do, but would be embarrassed to show because I'll show it wrong. But basically, right here, in both cases, my ability is to control Seth's posture is very significant. Now, if he's a little bit up, my ability to submit him is low, and notice how he's controlling. Seth immediately countered by bringing his hips underneath. What this is, guys, this lapel grip is always going to be a battle for posture, and if I'm able to break your posture, I can damage your structure, and then therefore I can damage your stability by extension, taking away your ability to pressure me, all this other good stuff. I'm almost certainly going to be able to sweep you. If I can rob you of your posture, it is never good. If you can pass my guard with no posture, I am probably a beginner. I would not rely on that. So what I need you guys to think about is first understanding the dangers that are presented so that you guys can appreciate just how important it is to break this grip. So from bottom, please. Basically, guys, let's start close guard, actually. Nice and simple. When Seth gets a hold of my lapel here, man, I am at pretty significant risk. Can you cross choke me? For sure. He can use this to start to omoplata. He's controlling my posture. If you notice, watch this, no posture control, and go for your omoplata. Second, step up, but watch this. When he can hold me down, I'm like, I'm trying to get away. Phenomenal omoplatas. Guys, watch if you want to learn about that. Great position, something I like a lot, but watch Zach Maxwell, watch Clark Gracie, phenomenal omoplata, guys. And you'll see that lapel grip really, really used extremely effectively. And basically, watch elite level guard players of all kinds, and you're going to see people really effectively using that lapel. It's got to go, man. There is not a lot that I can do, provided that Seth is breaking my posture in that manner. So we'll start from close guard just to keep things simple, and then we'll move a little bit more. In close guard, you're very unlikely to see this grip. But if you hold it down, it still does have some level of effective posture control. It's just, it doesn't really have the same benefits as the cross grip. But basically what we're looking to do here is, in any case, anytime I'm looking to be powerful, I need to be stable. I need to be structurally sound, I need to be stable. What that's going to do is it's going to give my body the ability to be strong and then do what I can do. If I still can't break your grip after that, well, man, then I certainly wasn't going to break it with bent posture. If at my best and most powerful position I still can't move you, well, then try again until you can. So when Seth gets a hold of me here, what I'm going to look to do is I'm going to go on top and on bottom of his wrist. If you'll notice, I can't always rely on the gi because Seth's gi is a little bit short. So if I were holding here, I'm so far down the lever, I'm not effectively bothering his grip. What I want to focus on is the thumb. I'm not suggesting grabbing someone's thumb and yanking it. That's not really okay. But I will say you can peel someone's hand. You guys ever seen Predator before? Like the beginning of the movie with like tons of steroids? Anyway, we're here. What I'm doing is I'm peeling in the same way that you would be thumb to thumb. I can peel Seth's hand off of my lapel. So I'm going to go on the bottom to stabilize the grip, and I'm peeling as I extend away. If you'll notice, guys, I'm moving on the exact same line segment. The hand goes this way, my body goes the other. There is no divergence off of that line. So your hand is running this direction, my body is going in the opposite. If there's any type of a break, if I'm here and I'm like, you'll see people yanking around, and the only thing I'm accomplishing is damaging my own stability. 1, 2, get a good grip, keep your head up, maintain your own posture, because again, the purpose of this grip is to bring you down low, robbing you of your ability to be strong. 1, 2, all the way up. You'll see the exact same thing on the feet. I would really recommend watching judo for effective grip breaking, because the best grip fighters in the world are certainly not in jiu-jitsu, they're in judo, because that sport is massively influenced by grip fighting. As much as jiu-jitsu is influenced by grip fighting, man, judo is huge. And hey, I don't want to get swept, but I really don't want to get Harai Goshi on my face. So I can tell you that people will break that grip very aggressively in judo. So if we come back, let's say I were cutting through, this is no different. I have to recognize the dangers that I face in any given situation. Posture control leads to everything. If Seth's able to pull me down, can you cross-choke me, please? Boom, I'm in a lot of trouble. I can freak out and try to get myself out, but it's going to be tough. Alternatively, let's say he sits up and loop chokes. if we rotate a little bit, notice how in this particular case he's sacrificing a little bit of posture control for the ability to have my lapel have just enough slack that he can loop around my head. And that's a wrap. I'm telling you guys, there are so many different ways that he can move this way, move that way into the cross choke. Again, cross chokers, Kron Gracie, phenomenal to watch. Just see how effective they are with these grips. They have got to go, man. If you let Kron grab your lapel, that's probably going to be a short day. So what I need from you guys is the following. Stability at all times. I don't care if you're on both knees, both feet, or one-on-one. But notice how I'm structurally sound. My spine is straight, my head is up. I'm moving my hand in this direction, and I'm moving my body in the opposite. My hands are really more of the hold as my body does the work. Because again, no matter how strong my arms are, my body is significantly more powerful. So I'm not sitting here and going, ah, I'm going hold and I move away from it. Very, very important. This is going to keep you out of all the other trouble. If I don't let my posture get broken down and don't let people hold this grip, it's going to be very, very difficult for most guards to affect me because I'm going to be out of their range. But if you can effectively pull me into the range of your guard and I can't withdraw, as I attempt to withdraw, that's when we really get ourselves in trouble. So our number one is going to be right here, palm on top, palm on bottom. Notice how my sleeves are a little bit longer, so watch Seth go, guys. He's on top and on bottom. He's gripping my sleeve here just because my sleeve is there. It's a great and effective grip, and it's very, very tough for me to break, and it's a little bit more reliable than my wrist. But because Sefski's a little bit shorter, remember, the key is I'll grab whatever I can grab, but more importantly, I'm up at the end of the grip. I'm not here because people's grips are too strong. Particularly you get some guy with big old, like, freaking, you know, meat hook hands. It's going to be tough. So pop that grip free. Option B, guys, sometimes you'll see this in closed guard a lot, is going to be a loop of the head underneath, and I'm trying to damage the structure of Seth's grip. If you'll notice, when his wrist is straight, it's very powerful. Every good cross choker, you'll see them keep a strong, powerful wrist and lock in tight. What I need to do is take away Seth's ability to do that. If I'm here, and don't get me wrong, he's going to keep this elbow low, but that's why it's so important for me to keep my posture. I'm going to circle my head underneath and do the exact same thing. So I'm like, man, I'm having a hell of a time here. I check his arm to create space, because can you drop your elbow now? No. Watch this. If I try to duck my head under, Seth's not having it. But I go, hey, stop that. Notice I'm bracing my elbow on his thigh, not digging my elbow into his thigh. I'm not trying to be a dick about it because that's actually not going to help at all. I'm just simply going to slide. I circle my head underneath, pop that grip free. Now, one final thought is, what happens if he grabbed me like that in the first place? There's probably a reason for it. So particularly as we get towards the brown black belt, you know, and high-level black belt level, people don't do a lot of things by accident. They're looking for their best position. So if I let it go, what do I think is going to happen? Vroom, it's going to be like a magnet. It's going to go right back to my neck. So, man, when you break this thing, and sometimes you'll feel, again, it's so deep that you can't. So I go underneath, and what that does is put strain on Seth's grip. I do the exact same thing. I get as close, if I can't grab his hand, I get as close to the top as I can, and I move away. Hold onto this dang thing. I mean, I would stand and break from this position. If we come back to a regular cutting through or any other type of scenario, if we're here, you got that grip, hold onto the dang thing, at least for a second. See if their hand makes a movement back for your neck. I'm like, oh, all right, well, I know you wanted that. Now maybe I'll hold it indefinitely. But if he lets it go, then I'll say, at the very least, I'm going to keep my hands in between me and him and deny him further access to my neck. So I hope that this has kind of started to illustrate just how valuable that cross grip or that lapel grip can be for the bottom player, and as a result, how important it is for us to deny it to them. All right, guys, our next grip break is going to be the leg lasso. And this is a great position that you'll see people using. A lot of times they're threatening the tilt sweep. There's a pretty classic series involved with this position. We'll borrow a second. We end up on bottom here. Guys, what people are going to try to do is they'll be playing off of sleeve grips. They're going to move themselves out. Notice, flexi guy may try to go like this, but the skillful guard player is going to move his hips into position, thread his leg through, and come back. And this is called a leg lasso. You'll see a lot of very effective omoploters play this position, trianglers sometimes, but basically it can be a pretty big pain in the butt. So again, it has to go, because what it does is it fuses you to the other guy in a way that makes it really difficult for you to separate enough to get around his legs. So when Seth grips my sleeve, it's going to be with this cat's paw grip, which again, if I was like, hey, you stop that right in the beginning, I could have probably saved myself a lot of hassle. But let's say Seth makes a really good movement outside. Notice how he moved his body outside. He didn't abuse flexibility. He moved his hips, sucked himself back in a good position. I'm like, man, this sucks. And again, there's a big trap here, very important not to run around the guard, because I'm like, I got you. Oh, nope. That's the classic trap in that position. So just making sure, most of you guys I'm sure are familiar with that, but if you're not, well, I would learn about it. But anyway, what we're going to look to do here is the problem with this position, guys, is that I can't retract my arm safely. Notice how Seth is pulling his elbow close to his hip. If you extend your arm a little, Seth, see I can pull my arm, back, rotate. Watch my hand recede out here. I can pull it away. And that's where you'll see, Seth's fingers start to go from strong to increasingly weak and open. But it's too smart for that. He's keeping his elbow down. Every good leg lassoer keeps this elbow down low. So what he's doing is using his forearm as a block, so I can't pull it through his leg. I'm like, man, this is not a good situation. So what you'll see a lot of times, guys, is people trying to go around here and getting heavy on top of the leg and all that. But for right now, what I prefer for you to do is, again, deny grips in the first place. If I continue to proceed forward, it's not wrong, but what I'm doing is I'm counterfighting now through a different sequence in his guard, and I'm saying, hey, I know this sequence a little bit better than you do, and I think I can find my way through it. Until we get to that point, and that kind of goes a little bit beyond the scope of what we're looking to do right now, until we get to that point, it's more important to stop things before they get started. So what I want you guys to do is start to get stable, and you can start to step up, but this is the whole key, this hand here. It needs to make it to the outside of Seth's thigh. So what I can do is I'll create just enough movement in order for me to rotate my hand here. Now, rather than Seth's thigh being an obstruction for me, where I can't pull his arm through, I want it to be an obstruction for him that's starting to stop him from keeping my grip secure. So as I rotate to the outside, if you guys can see, this puts pretty significant strain. See how Seth's hand comes through the middle now? That puts very significant strain on his grip. Here it's very easy, he's very powerful with his arm close to his side. I rotate my hand out, and ideally I put my palm flat on the outside of Seth's leg. Sometimes you can't do it, you might have to go to the back of the hand, but something stable. The idea is, can you pull my hand back through, Seth?
No.
This is a little bit more effective if you can get it, but hey, all that matters is, watch, pull my hand back through now. Whoa, and it gets yanked through. So I don't go, ha-ha, and get pulled back through. I'll circle my hand and place my palm on the outside. Now, again, the worst thing I do is start yanking, because it's going to create instability. Don't do that. All you need to do is this. I'll pressure, I'll move around. I will not walk to this corner, because I will get swept. I'll pressure in, keep my hips low, move back, anything to create just a little bit of wiggle room here. But again, minor movements. I'm making jabs. I'm not throwing my weight into anything. Pressuring, circle, got him. Now watch this. I'm going to walk my hand until I've defeated his grips. Now Seth has no grips on me, man. It's go time for guard passing. If we come back, and again, don't get me wrong, he's probably going to be playing the knee, he may be trying to get my lapel, but even if he's doing any of that, no matter what he's doing, I say, hey, this is not the sort of grip he can use to choke me. And even if we're a cross grip, can you use that to choke me? No, because it requires his second hand, so we're always reading the situation, and I'm like, hey, don't get me wrong, I want this to go, but I can't do anything about it. So even if I intended to break this grip, as we discussed before, it's very important. I say, hey, let me push in, move a little bit, there we go. Now I walk my hand up the outside of the leg. Now I can look to start to try to enter whatever pass seems right at the moment. So again, very important that leg lasso goes. That is a stop sign, guys. Do not make the mistake of trying to jump past the other guy's guard. You will be swept. All right, guys, our final grip break is going to be defeating the spider hook. Now, what I'm going to show to the following is simply one example of how to do this. Grip breaks are, there's specific ones, but it's more of an idea of how to make your opponent's grip unstable than this is. This is not meant to be an all-inclusive, every possible way one could possibly deal with the spider guard. It's simply how to take the stability of my opponent's grip and damage that so that I can start to defeat it. And again, what this is meant to do is just jumpstart your mind in the right direction so that when you see other ideas, you can evaluate them based on their merit, rather than just saying, hey, let me try this one, or hey, let me try that one. You can see if something is valid or not. Now, if you're on bottom here, Seth? Okay, so when Seth has spider guard hooks on me, generally speaking, you'll see people kind of stalling back here and whatnot and doing not a whole lot, but it's going to be tough to break these grips if I'm low. More often, I'm very difficult to get underneath, but more often you're going to see guys playing it from up here. And the worst thing I can do is try to yank my arms free, because all I'm doing is accelerating Seth into these positions. You want to see this done beautifully? Watch Cabrina. and just watch people try to yank free and watch them spin underneath and all sorts of different things. I need to maintain my stability, my structure, while attempting to damage my opponents. So what we're going to start with here is recognizing that I can't break both grips at the same time, assuming that Seth has double bicep hooks. What I'm going to start with is simply walking my knee in against him. Now I have to understand, if you start to extend this leg, I have to be prepared to base and realize that my opponent's going to try to bother me. That's why stability is so important. If we come back for a second, if I'm like here and now you start to tilt me, I'm going to immediately fall. If you guys notice, I immediately came off balance and Seth barely, he wasn't even trying to sweep me, just extended his leg. So if you'd have been trying to dump me, I would have gotten face planted on the mat. So very important, what I want you guys to do is maintain your own structure and circle your hand inside if possible. So again, I'm holding his foot off because right now there's an immense amount of pressure on my bicep. There's counter force. He's extending his leg, not freaking out, but there's just extension. What good players will do, guys, is they'll push in just enough to create tension. If you hyperextend your leg, like whatever, I can take that grip away very easily. What I want you guys to do is recognize that a good player is going to pull just a little bit and push just a little bit, because if he pulls super hard and pushes super hard, he's fighting his own grip. I'll just hang here and let Seth break his own fingers off. I'm going to settle in with proper base, taking the pressure off of my bicep. What this allows me to do is circle my hand to the inside. Now I can break free, or I can simply, even if Seth held on, I can circle to the inside, and now, again, notice how this makes it, how awkward this is for Seth's grip here. His leg is blocking his arm. Now, I wouldn't recommend yanking free, but it's just meant to illustrate that if we come back for a second, your leg is not in the way, even if you just take your leg free. That's not going anywhere. But anytime I have a counter check, I can start to break the grip. So again, here we are. I pressure him with my knee, not to go shazam, but I'm removing pressure on my bicep so that I can circle my hand to the inside. Now, I could attempt to do the same, but I could recognize here as well that if I, watch as I pressure in directly into Seth's bicep hook. I'm not going anywhere. But imagine I wanted to punch something, I'm going to skip and not really damage my hand. I would skip it, like skipping a stone. So by making a flush surface like this for Seth's foot to push against, I'm never going to get free. But watch, push now as I adjust the angle of my bicep. So I go from a 90 degree, like an L here, that catches, to this. Pressure would fall through the space where my thumb just vacated. So here we are. I can turn the corner and get myself out of position. So again, or rather out of trouble. So I'll pressure, hoping to get my opponent to pressure back, and I can turn the corner to remove his spider hook. Now we can get into all sorts of leg drag passing and all sorts of other stuff that again goes a little bit beyond the scope of this clip, but the key is just understanding how to damage the structural stability of my opponent's grip. I can either take pressure off to allow me to circle and reclaim the inside, or I can simply, if he's pushing on me, I can make myself an unstable surface. So if we go back one more time. And again, this is not an exhaustive list of ways to stop the spider guard, but it's one, okay, circle, turn. If I had attempted that in the beginning, I would have a very difficult time because Seth has dual control. He's not going to allow me to change the angle of my arm. But let's say he's extending super hard on this leg. I could use the same thing here. Do you feel like you have pressure against my bicep anymore?
Not at all.
I can remove my arm simply. Watch this. Let me try to remove my arm. Watch his leg follow me, but I'm fine. And now watch. I can shed this. Even if it goes to my hip, it's not my bicep anymore. No, so I could potentially move behind. So I'm making myself an unstable position for Seth, while at the same time damaging the stability of his grips. Very, very important. Reduce pressure on your biceps or anywhere that the opponent is attempting to plant his feet, and you're going to be able to defeat that spider guard much more easily than you otherwise would have. All right, guys, before we move on, I'd like to show a quick drill for the top player that he can utilize to work, just transitioning between grip breaks. And again, it's not about going fast or crazy or having pressure in this one. It's just fluidly and calmly transitioning from break to break, controlling posture, controlling my position, and just going from there. Again, there's no script to this. The bottom person's job is simply to feed grips to the top player as the top player attempts to maintain his or her position, knocking the grips off, circling feet, whatever it is. And again, you can always start with a small number of variables. It's like math. We start out with what? Addition, subtraction. That's nice and easy. Then we make it a little bit more of a complicated problem, but it's years before you start to solve for a variable. And then once you start solving for variables, we don't go from addition to calculus. we're working our way up, introducing variables slowly over time. So make sure, again, if you're having a little bit of trouble, no worries, just back it down one variable, say, hey, let's just bounce between 2 positions instead of 4. Let's just do 3 instead of 6, and then as you get more, you can go, at a faster pace. You can go, with more difficult options. But again, go at a pace that is commensurate with your level of experience, so that you're constantly improving, 1% better every day, guys. So let's start. Assuming that Seth has hooks, I'm like, okay, of some kind. I'm like, oh, break, break. Let's say he goes to the hooks now. Circle. Can circle inside. 1, 2. Replace his spider guard. I'll use the other knee. I'm like, go. Walk. Break. And then eventually you can start to marry this with your passing positions, guys. Looking to transition through your opponent's guard as you work in the control positions with the grip breaks. But again, there's no script, and Seth was just feeding me different movements. And if if there's a hitch or if there's a mistake on my part, whatever you do, guys, don't pause. Don't get used to pausing. I don't need to spaz out and freak out and try to go, oh, I don't know what to do. Just slow down and say, break this. What would I do? I can ask Seth, hey, what could I have done better? And even though right now, if you notice, Seth wasn't moving as if he was bouncing from guard to guard to guard at like a, at a high level event. This is a drill for the top player. He was simply throwing grip after grip at me, and I had to respond. Even though you're very unlikely to face this same scenario in a competition or in a fight, having the ability and the capacity to be able to do this is very, very valuable, I believe. All right, guys, now that we've gotten our grip breaks and our positioning and our principles down, we're moving on into the specific technical sequences of the DVD. What we're looking for here, guys, I'm going to show you a series of a standing sequence that can, bounce around from different position to position inside of what we're doing. And the first thing, and the first and most important pass that we're going to be working on in my mind is going to be the standard knee through guard pass. It is absolutely critical to be fundamentally sound. And you have to have pressure, being able to come forward, passing your opponent's guard, and the knee through is a great way to do that. The leg drag is a fantastic pass. These other passes are fantastic, but you have to have a forward pressuring pass, whether it's your knee over, your knee through, something like that, and this is going to be, at least speaking personally for me, one of my favorites, and a signature pass of many of the elite players in the world. So what I'm looking for, and you can always, guys, all we're going to be showing is going to be the specific techniques here, and again, how to get through it. But as you're training on your own, you can always add a grip breaking sequence to the front of this thing, as if I started in Spider and then boom, go through. As if I started in De La Riva and boom, go through. So I'm approaching the guard standing. As we discussed, guys, we have 4 methods of approaching the guard: standing, kneeling, 1-and-1, or the other way, 1-and-1. Right now, what I'm looking to do is immediately, guys, as I approach, I want to make Seth pick a side, because currently his back is on the mat. It's difficult for me to threaten him in 2 directions at once. I want to be able to say, hey, I'm going to pin this guy over here, and I'm going to make him choose between letting me pass his guard and giving up his back, which right now he does not have to choose. So as I enter, I'm stepping to the inside of Seth's feet. If you'll notice, very, very important, if this foot is in the way, I'm opening space, vacating it, and moving my leg through the hole. If I step through, make a hook, I'm like, dang it. Good players, guys, don't let you just walk into their guard. I'm opening Seth's feet with my hands as I step in. What this has done is this has given me an opportunity to start to control the inside space. Now, my left hand is going to place on Seth's knee, and my right hand is going on his rib cage. You can get the lapel, whatever feels right to you. Generally speaking, even with the gi, I prefer to post on the rib cage. It's just a personal preference thing. If you notice, my hips are back. Very important. I'm not pressuring forward. Pull me forward right now. Whoa. Bad day for me. I'm going to get arm locked. My hips are back. I can have my butt back and my head down as long as my spine remains straight. Alternatively, I can have my head up and my hips low, but now I'm passing in a different position. So again, because we're approaching the guard on the feet, I want to make sure that I limit space. I can't approach it all the way up here and expect to be able to pass. I'm too high. So my hips are back. I'm stepping through, pointing my knee towards Seth. My head is up only for talking purposes, guys. It would be right down, run in the middle of his chest. Very, very important. My knee is going to the maximum point of leverage. My right hand is short and shallow. I am not reaching. What this does is opens up the space here, and I'm going to get hung up on his guard. Don't reach. Move your body into the position. Then the underhook will flow organically. So again, 1, 2. My head comes down. I'm looking to the side, again, just so you guys can hear me for the camera, but I would have my head right underneath Seth's chin, opening up space, pressuring.
Now I'm leaning forward, and I say, I'm going to pass the guard. And Seth starts to push my head. He's like, nah, nah, nah. So I say, yeah, back the fuck up, Dontel. And I move my right arm underneath of Seth's. Now, my knee comes through, opening the space for my hip. If you'll notice, this spot right here is where I need to exist. That's no good. I can't, there's not a person-sized space there. So I have to open it up. That's where my head underneath his chin and my knee getting to the floor in front of his knee is the key. It's opening up Seth's defense. So again, I can't expect this to open up on its own. I got to wedge myself in there. So when we come back, we go 1, step in, 2. Notice I'm on the inside with my left hand as well. I'm not stuffing his leg down. I'm moving laterally, and it's putting pressure. I'm using my mass, not my left arm strength against Seth's right leg strength. That's not a good win, not a good battle for me. I follow with my knee to the same place, head down, driving forward. Now, Seth, if he doesn't want to push my head, I'm just going to grind his face off. But at a certain point, he's going to do that, which vacates the space for my underhook. If I had my head up and I were just trying to dig under, I got another thing coming, man. I am not underhooking anybody worth their salt. So if we come back, I incentivize Seth to move his head. Now, I open the space. If you rotate to the side, please. See how my knee is through, guys? I'm opening the space so that my hip can sit, okay? Alternatively, you can keep your knee here, but something has to block his hip. Right now, Seth, do you feel forward pressure on your face? Mm-hmm. All that's happened, guys, is I've transitioned from my forehead under his chin, my hairline, to my trap or my collarbone. It's coming forward like a cow catcher lifting his head up. If you guys have ever seen Hodger Gracie mount somebody, let's say he's in half guard, right? Every now and then you'll see their half guard fly open and their feet start to like scramble backwards. I've never rolled with Hodger and I've never gotten squashed by him, although I'm sure that would happen. But basically, I can only imagine, because I've seen people do this with me, and I'm sure his pressure is a lot heavier than mine. It probably feels like their head is going to come off like a Pez dispenser. And when their feet fly open, all it does is they're trying to catch their body up to their head. So by driving forward, I'm creating this pressure, which says, hey, you want to hold on, that's fine, but that's not a sustainable thing for the bottom guy, and that's exactly what we're trying to do. We're using our positioning, our structure, and our pressure to pass this guy. So, again, we're on the inside. 1, 2, 3, 4, underhook. As my knee comes down, 5. Don't try to slide through with the knee up. Make space as you fill in. Can you close your knee to your elbow, Seth? Do you feel like you can move? Watch. Now, he's blocking. My hand is going to circle to the inside, and it's very important my head doesn't come up. See, I've granted Seth his defense, no good. I don't care if you hold somebody down like that, it's wrong. And again, you'll get away with it in a gi jiu-jitsu tournament because you can latch the fuck onto the guy, but that is poor jiu-jitsu. In a no-gi match or MMA, I'm chucked off of him. So we're here. I'm pressuring. My head slinks down, back to his chin. My hand is going to replace my head, or rather my shoulder is going to replace my head as my head transitions to the other side. Can you wiggle your head left and right, please? How about now? See how he can move? Whether he gets out or not, he's got a lot of space. That's no good. I pressure and keep his head in a vise. If my head is in a vise, believe me, I don't want to move the rest of me. So, one last time. And it could have started, let's say we have hooks. Let's add a grip. Pressure. Notice how I'm leaning forward a little bit, relaxing my weight onto my opponent. Can you roll me over? If it happened, I would simply sink back. So again, I'm pressuring. If he starts to turn me, I should be fine. But where can I put weight to stop that? Right on the near shoulder. Turn away. Just drop onto his shoulder. And if he's super strong, I just go up and sink all the way back so that there's no chance. Remember, because again, we have a Jiu-Jitsu Absolute division. No matter how strong Seth is for his size, there is a big version of him out there somewhere, and that guy may be able to chuck me over. So I always have to be prepared to keep my pressure, but not at the cost of my stability. I'll just settle back and then pressure him again should it become necessary. All right, guys, our next standing pass position is going to be combining our knee through a pass with the leg drag while using a shin circle. So we're utilizing a couple different motions or marrying them together into a sequence here that we can bounce back and forth between. When I approach Seth's guard here, a very common pass that you'll see
done is, you know, going to be the X pass, and sometimes you'll see it done really, you know, in a technically sound manner. Other times you'll see someone that's quick and explosive and they yank past your guard, and that works too. Don't get me wrong, that is just as valid as anything else, but it's not as reliable, assuming that you're not the more physically powerful of the two people. So what I'd like you guys to do is, rather than using your X pass like, this big old movement, I would like you guys to use your shin circle and stay a little bit closer. So here we go. As I start to cut into Seth's position, no different than the last one, I stepped in and I start to cut in, but Seth starts to bring his knee to bear. I say, okay, I'm holding his lapel because I'm at range. As I get closer, guys, I'm using my underhook. So it's like I'm here, and then as I get closer, I'll hit you here, and then as I get closer, I'll hit you with my shoulder, and then as I get closer, I can headbutt you. But the basic idea is I don't try to underhook from this range, and I don't maintain a lapel grip when I'm super right up on him. So as we're here, because I'm at full range, if I were a little closer, I'd probably be on my hand. But again, because I'm not pushing pressure down onto Seth at the moment, I'm just maintaining a lapel grip. Now my knee comes in, immediately I'm circling to the outside, and this is the trick. My elbow comes inside of my hand. Absolutely critical, guys. Absolutely critical. What this does, if I'm here, can you open your right knee? See how this can become an obstruction? Not the end of the world, but certainly not what I want. We're here. Now, this frees up my left hand to go inside of Seth's bicep and drive forward. Now, right now, notice my positioning. If you guys can rotate for a second, this is obviously a gi-only positioning. Why is that? Because I've got his lapel and I've got his bicep, and it's not, this could be transferred. But right now, do you feel like I have great positioning, Seth? Like I can push into you. I could hold this in the gi very easily. If he starts to push back into me, I can hop up and do all this cool stuff. But recognize that the only way that I'm able to do that, I'm at such range that I'm utilizing the gi. Not abusing, but using. But recognize that if I think that that's how the pass works without the gi on, again, I'm going to be in for a surprise when I actually try to do this to somebody without the gi. You can get away with being further away and having less pressure with the gi. If you want to be able to do this no gi, you've got to get right up on the person. So just recognize what you're doing, what's going to work when, so that, again, there are no surprises. Doesn't mean that we don't train in the gi, train no gi. Again, most of the best no gi guys are great gi guys, but you don't see, generally speaking, people that are traditionally awesome spider guard guys making the best transition. Not to say they can't, just that I'm so used to utilizing the gi that it can be difficult so when it's taken from you. So just a thought. You always have to, again, recognize that you're going to become exactly what you train to be. So I would recommend training to be effective in both, because I don't know about you guys, but I never wanted to be the person that, yeah, I'm really tough unless you put the gi on. I'm really tough unless you take it off. Or yeah, I'm really tough unless you try to hit me. Well, because then ... you're not that tough. So I step in, I move to the side, I start to pass. Seth blocks, I immediately circle, and I get my knee through the hole. Pulling in tight with my right arm, I block, and I put my head underneath of his chin. What this is going to do is this sets me up in a situation. Can you bridge to your right side, please, Seth?
No.
Can you push into me? Can you crunch up?
No, not with your head there.
If I'm here, can you crunch up and start to push, and he can start to create an effective defense? Exactly. He's going to start to move. Maybe even if I jump on his back, that's fine. But that's not what I should have done. We're here. That way, if you make a turn away from me, what do you have to do with this arm?
I have to make a big movement to get over your head.
Exactly, which grants me the back of his lapel, grants me the undergrip here. Can you turn away, please, with this grip?
No.
He's going to tear his ribs trying to turn away.
No.
Now, sitting to my side, I can easily take the back, go past the guard. You know, we've seen this before in the back attack sequence, in the back attack series, guys. So, one more time. Here I am, I'm stepping in, I'm threatening that knee through pass, but Seth's not having it. Let's say even if I started all the way in, but he pushed me away. I'm like, okay. Notice how I got my knee through. Again, you can get away with this sometimes with the gi on, but no gi, get used to getting your knee through. Even with the gi, get used to getting your knee through. Elbow replaces hand. Hand goes to the arm. Head comes down low. If Seth turns to face, he puts me into side control. If Seth turns away, because I'm blocking the bicep, watch this. If I'm here, reach through. See how his arm blocks? I can try to jump to his back, but man, effective defense. Now, don't get me wrong. I've seen Rafael Mendes jump onto people's arm here very effectively. Great move, and obviously from a great grappler. But I'd really prefer to stay to the inside so that one way or another, there's no way that arm gets in. I can get straight to his back and put him away. All right, guys, our next situation stemming from the standing position is going to be entering with the knee through pass again, but you may run into a situation where, particularly when you're at range, you're going to be a little bit wider open. And sometimes that can make a little bit of space for your opponent's knee to block you. This is a common scenario that I've seen people run into. And, I remember before, Bruno Frazado actually was the first person. He's a phenomenal grappler. A lot of people, I think, criminally underrated, how good Bruno is. And, he's a great champion. And actually, he made a massive influence on my game, starting to training with him in 2007. So I owe a lot to Bruno. And, him helping me solve this position really made a big difference. And so I'd like to pass it on. Well, if I'm a little bit far away, sometimes you'll have people be a little bit more open. As we get close, we try to be as small as we can, and once I'm very close to Seb, it's tough for him to worm this knee in. But sometimes it'll happen, and other times, as we're entering, so let's say I get my step to the inside, and I make a little bit of a mistake. See how I overreached here, guys? Granting Seth the space with his knee to get in between me and him. What I should have done is this. Reaching straight to the inside, so there's nothing stopping me from attempting to slide through. Now, if I step in, though, and I grip a little high, what you'll run into a lot is this problem here. Blocking with the scissor half guard or the knee across. I'm like, man. And I'll always see people trying to drive through it, and that just does not work, man. Not only that, it's freaking frustrating. So what I want you guys to do is the following. Notice how my knee, you guys see, is poking out between steps. If every now and then you'll run into this position starting in half guard as well, even though we're starting from the standing position, I'd like you guys to think about it from here as well. Return to the standing position. That's the key. This knee comes up because I need to make a lateral move to my right. When Seth's legs are grabbing me, they're not posted on the ground, which means I can turn him. So here we are. My knee's out in the between. If I want to move, if we rotate this way, I want to move laterally. I can't because I can't step up. I'm like, I'm going to tilt myself. So when I bring my knee in between, what I can do is this. I can take a sliding step to the side. It's absolutely critical. I redirect him. When I run into a wall, I redirect it. So as we cut through, whether we started down or more likely in our particular case here, we started up. And I say, hey, awesome, inside grip, gotcha. And I screwed this up. Again, should have been here, but made a little mistake and I'm cutting through. My knee is in between. Attempting to continue on this path is a very, very large mistake. Don't do it. I'm going to take a step up, and if we rotate, I'm controlling the outside of Seth's knee because I'm going to be pushing it that way, which means an inside grip being efficient. We don't lift. I'm going to cup the bottom. I step up, opening my elbow yet again, just like in the prior movement, sliding across, replacing my elbow. Now if we rotate, here we are. Notice my knee is poking out the other side. I need to continue here to move in this direction. The big thing that people do is they'll try to step off of it and end up hooked. No good. I'm going to continue pinning in this direction until my right knee is free. Sliding, and I'm bringing my left foot over the top. Can you turn to your right side, please, Seth?
No.
I'm fine, guys. My head is low. Why is my head low? Because if it's not, Seth's going to push, get up on his elbow, or get his hips out. Space is the enemy of the guard passer. Not what I'm looking for. So we make our movement to the side. I'm having a little trouble getting my knee out. I circle my foot on top so I can easily step it free. Simple as, guys, the switching that we did in the beginning of the series. I circle my knee back on top, keeping my head close to Seth's shoulder. Turn away, please. What's stopping you?
Your head inside of my shoulder.
Turn away. That way?
This way.
I can jump for his back, but that's a long way. See, I'm below Seth's hips. I don't want to do that yet. I want to keep my head here until I get up above his hips. Now I'll let him turn away. And I'm a short turn from the back. But if I try to jump from here, man, a lot of times you get swept. A lot of times, because you're giving up your positioning. It's too much, and it's completely unnecessary. I have all the cards in this position. There's no need to rush. If I jump from here to try to get here, that is a long way to go. I want to slowly but surely walk above his hips, then jump. So, we come back, please. And again, I could easily pass the guard as well, but particularly at the lower weights, guys are going to turn away 9 times out of 10. So we're here. I'm stepping in. Seth got his knee in. I'm like, man, that's not what I wanted. It's okay. Up, stepping across. Make as little space as possible. I'm coming up tall just so it's easy to see. Elbow on top of hand. Head in front of shoulder. Circle your foot. I have base. Circle it back. If you keep driving, you should be able to hold the person down. Notice how I'm controlling Seth's shoulder the entire time. Stop. Turn away, please.
Can't.
Turn away. I can walk all the way to the side. But if he makes an aggressive turn before I get there, I say, hey, no way. We're immediately onto his back and be able to get him. So one more time at regular pace, guys. So I step to the inside, I'm like, and we're immediately into the finish or side control, depending upon how it plays out. All right, guys. Our next sequence is going to be a continuation of the same idea, only rather than running our opponent to the other side, we're going to make him overcommit to the near side. Now, it's very, very important to understand the dynamic of the scissor half here, guys. So, and scissor half could be any type of scissor position that stops me from proceeding forward. The strength of it is through Seth's knee, lined up with his femur. If I'm pressuring in, I can lean here for hours and nothing's going to happen. If I try to cut through here, I'm going to be redirected. It's never going to work. What I want to do, the hole in this position is back over this back shin. So, let's say I were on top and I'm like, man, okay. This time, rather than being on the top, on the bottom of the knee because I'm running the other way, I'm going to pin on the top, or on the top of the bottom knee, dropping my hip to now pin the top. So if we come back again and go, hey, I get my knee up, but I do not attempt to proceed forward. I point it backwards, dropping my hip on his top knee, posting. My head is up simply for talking purposes. I would not be up like this because, Seth, where would you put your hands? Exactly. It'd be a giant pain in the butt to try to get around. If we come back, please. Knee comes up, pins. Knee slides behind. Transition grips. Moving myself into the leg drag. Same deal. If my arm shoots through, I'm like, okay, I can lock him in. Alternatively, if he turns away, who ultimately chooses that? This guy, you know? So that's why when I said guard passing in this series, I didn't say guard passing to side control. I said guard passing. We're getting around the guard, and we're like, all right, what do you want to do? You want to go away or you want to stay put? If he goes away, yeah, we jump in his back. Stays put, side control. But ultimately, that choice lies with the bottom player. So here I am attempting to pass. I stepped inside. I should have been here. Again, at some point along the way, Seth got his knee in. I'm like, ah, man, okay. Immediately, here's my arm, notice. My knee travels back through the hole. Pin. Can you open that knee, please?
No.
Strength or weight?
Wait, 100%.
Again, it's rough having this much raw testosterone coursing through your veins, but even I have to use my weight. No, but seriously, I really recommend using your weight. So we're here, circle, transition grips. Why? Turn away, please. You can do it now. Turn away now, please. Remember, I'm effectively, and I could grab this, do the same dang thing. I'm a huge fan of that. That's pretty rad when you can get it. It's a little tougher, but if you can get it, it's even better than the lapel, because not only does it have the same effect, but it robs him of a hand. Pass. Back. But watch this. See this arm? Man, that's a bummer. I might have to shove to the side in order to climb to the line of the shoulders. So if we come back one more. I'm cutting through. Seth got his knee in. It shouldn't have happened. And one thing I can do if I'm having a hard time is I'll start to run the other way. Then I'll get my knee back in front and proceed back into my original pass. We can always bounce back and forth between these options depending upon what he over-defends. If Seth over-defends me going through, well, then I go around. But if as I try to go around, he goes, no, then I say, oh, okay. It makes much more sense to go right through here than it is to try to jump around this ultra-high wall now. So here we are passing. I started to try to run him over. I'm like, here. He got that knee back inside. I say, okay. My knee travels. I pin. Can you push me away, please? Should be very difficult. I'll let him push me just to the end of his arms. Don't go like fighting in. I'll be like, hey, man, if you want to let me, I'm fine. Can you push me any further?
No.
Launch me off you. Seth's actually a pretty strong, explosive guy. Well, no one's explosive at the end of their arm, so I'm like, yay. But if we come back a second, if I'm in here and launch me, I'm like, whoa, fuck, this guy's strong. I can't pass this guard, coach. Oh, wait a second. Just stay right here. So, and if he's reaching, you're going to be able to easily get to the inside space and latch him up. All right, guys, your next option for this one is going to be a standing knee through guard pass that's going to be denied to the near side by your opponent's arms. And what we can do when we run into a problem like that is we can transition from base passing position to base passing position if we like, or you can start to add some other things, and depending upon your skill set, I think this is a great option. Again, depending upon what you decide to cultivate technique-wise and what your level of experience is, you're going to have a different set of options. So it's important to understand that this is just something that works very well for me, something that I like a lot. But again, the idea here is we're always controlling our positioning, we're always staying stable, we're always staying heavy, and as we do that, we're going to have a series of options. So this time, again, I started the pass through. If I encounter my opponent's hands, I could always switch to a different style of pass that's just a little bit better to hunker down in than my knee through. But what happens if I get my knee to the ground this time? I've managed to bypass my opponent's top leg, but I'm having a little bit of difficulty here. Well, what we're going to do is our options are twofold. We can stay on the near side for part one, and part two, we're going to go to the far side. So on the near side, guys, I'm going to stay on the top lapel, and I'm going to use this corner of his body to keep Seth from turning to face me. It's very, very important. So here we are, I'm cutting through, and I've made it most of the way, and I even got my knee to the floor, but Seth trapped my foot pretty effectively. So if we rotate, here we are. What I want to try to stop from happening is Seth sitting up around my leg, giving me a really hard time here. That's not really what we want. So I'm going to stay low, and ideally my head is down, and I'm using my hand and my head to control this top shoulder to stop him from turning in. Now, rather than making a transition, I'm always going to try to stay put and work my way through with small, subtle motions. So notice how my base is out, my foot's out wide. Never a good idea to bring this in here. It's going to get trapped up, or rarely a good idea, rather. My base is out, my head is going to be down, and rather than finding my underhook with my hand, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my elbow first off of the lapel. So if we rotate a little bit this way, please. So assuming my head is in position, but Seth won't push, and he's looking to come up around with a low underhook. This is the situation I'm trying to avoid. So I'm head down. I'm going to use my elbow rather, to find the underhook, but I still feel stuck because Seth is mostly on his side. So what I need to do is I'm going to circle my right foot, very important, over top. So I'm circling my right foot. Right now, my foot is caught against Seth's thigh like this. It's not really going to be able to get through. By circling my foot, I'm going to be able to successfully break, or hopefully successfully break their grip by changing the profile. So here we are. Hope you guys can see. I'm trying to yank my foot through, and unless I have a tiny little elf foot, it's going to be tough. So I'm circling over top. Even if you make a triangle with your leg, Seth, I'm circling through the space between his calves so that my hip can descend into the space. And it's very, very important that I sit. Don't lean like this, because Seth can cut underneath me. Stability first, pressure second. So we come back. I step in, controlling, and I made it all the way through. Seth's grabbing my foot. Again, if I'm upright, I can start to try to dig for an underhook, but Seth's going to make it too tough on me. His hand's going to be in there exactly. So rather than using my hand in this case, I'm using my elbow, then my hand. My head and my shoulder are keeping his shoulder from turning to face as best I can. And now, again, we rotate. I'm circling my foot from the bottom side of Seth's calf over to the top side, just like this. Now I'll settle. It's not wrong, guys, to settle straight away, but again, the bigger the foot you have, the harder that's going to be. So we're settled in. Can you slide underneath of me, Seth?
No,
Why is that?
because you're blocking my head. I can't even start to move in this direction at all.
Exactly. If my head were to slip, I would have my arm there in order to protect that space. And it could be the same thing here. Every now and then, guys, people will block as well. Head stays underneath. Throw your arm at them like a punch. They'll stop it. Circle through. Your hand will get to the space that's near their head. Now, again, I'm rotating. This can be a little tough to see. I'm rotating my foot and sliding through. We rotate to the back side so we can see. So my foot is, again, on the back side of Seth's thigh, and we're rotating it up through here. Very subtle rotation. Now I can slide my foot through. I settle. And again, in order to pass with pressure, I keep my head on the far shoulder, but maybe Seth's turning in and I'm having a hard time. This is where, guys, I would use a passing switch. So rotate. So again, this is where we would utilize a passing switch. If I'm like, man, having a hard time here. My underhook descends from the level of the shoulder to the level of the knee, allowing my knee to get over top. Circling over top, pressure forward. If I'm able, I can hold him down through his shoulder if Seth turns away. Look at that far lapel, keeping the elbow closed. Very important. If the elbow's open, Seth turns away. See how my arm opens? Go to the back, please. Uh-oh. Rough situation, not good. Always embarrassing to go from the top of the back to the bottom of the back. Keep your elbow closed. Turn away, please. And I'm going to be able to effectively latch through. So again, if you feel like you get your foot caught in there, stay nice and cool and calm. The worst thing you can do is start trying to spaz out and yank your foot around. You're very, very likely to pull yourself out of stable position. Stay cool, stay calm, hunker down. Small motions to defeat the opponent's defense. All right, guys, our next position is going to deal with our next situation stemming from the same entry is going to deal with our opponent sitting up on the single leg. Now, you know, this is a difficult situation. It's very important to recognize that he can start to pass my lapels around and give me a lot of trouble. I have to be ready to deal with this. So, as again, I step in. It could have been any situation. Let's say you're on this spider. Boom, to the inside. To the inside. I start to cut through. But this time, notice, if Seth reaches his arm around, there's a very good chance I'll be able to use my elbow, my grip on the inside with his lapel here. See how it's going under his armpit? Can you turn to face, please?
No.
To pin his arm. Notice, again, watch this. Bent arm, turn to face. My God, he feels strong because it's my tricep. But let's just...
No way.
Just extending my arm and leaning. It's very simple. Can you lift that knee up?
No.
Can you cut underneath me now? Oh, shit. Again, man, he's so strong. People, it's very important, guys, to understand that with proper leverage, you know, anyone that's even within your weight range should not be able to move you. So, it doesn't mean we won't do it. That we're going to do it perfectly every single time, but assuming that you do it perfectly, I would expect for you to beat me in any time you have dominant position. Now, he reaches underneath my arm, and he looks to sit up around my leg. Seth's looking to build to the single. This is a dangerous situation for me, and I need to address it before it gets to this point, ideally. Again, I can kick out and try to get to his feet, but, man, if he gets my lapel, this sucks. People have made careers off of this position, man. So if we come back, Seth sits up. What I'm doing is I'm immediately sitting on top of his top leg. Can we rotate, please? Here. If I try to backstep with a high knee, Jedi mind trick, I'm going to get Jedi mind trick. Very important. So, that's the only move I ever actually put a name to other than 50-50. But anyway, we're cutting through. If I can, I'm going to elevate my hip and sit on top of Seth's knee. All I'm doing is simply getting his leg out of the way, because my hip can elevate higher than his knee can. Now I can safely step into this space over here, dragging him backwards. Immediately, I'm taking my free hand, gripping his knee, and I'm pulling it down as my arm on the other side reaches inside of Seth's left. So if we come back again. So if you'll notice, in order for him to get up, watch what Seth has to do. He has to roll up onto his elbow, which means that this is open. So here we are. As I backstep and sit up, if we rotate again, please. As I backstep and sit up, guys, my hand is coming into this space. 1, 2. Immediately now, my right knee must get free. So we rotate again. This is a little bit involved, but if you guys have seen the back attack sequence, in the back attack series, you're going to be right at home with this. I'm putting my right knee down to the floor. Very important that I do not sit next to Seth. Bridge me over, please. Here, but bridge. Whoa. Some people have a really strong bridge. Some people that don't even look like it have a really strong bridge. Every now and then you run into some sloth-looking person, and holy crap, is that person incredibly strong and have a really great bridge. Man, be careful. Keep your hips away. Bridge now, please.
No way.
Simply my butt and my foot are far enough out here that I can absorb that. If I'm close, watch out. So, very important, I'm going to rise up on my knee as I put my right knee down. Notice, very important, I'm touching my knee to the floor with my right side. And I'm transitioning my foot across, hooking Seth's leg. Again, this will be very familiar to you guys. Anyone that's seen the back attack series is going to be very familiar. If we scoot back just a little bit, and actually let's rotate. You see, guys, how my knee is flat on the floor, as if I were in 3/4 mount.
Very, very important. My knee is flat, flush to the floor, bearing weight. This is not acceptable. And see this gap here is not acceptable. I must have my knee down to the floor. Now I make as tight a roll as I can over my right side. Immediately, I'm seeking out Seth's arm or Seth's lapel. If I get his lapel, I'm putting my elbow across his back, climbing, 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 keeping the lapel open, looking to finish. Alternatively, if I got a hold of his arm, I'm going to reel him in with that. I'm most likely to make the grip with my nearest hand, which is my right in this case. I pass it to my left. I'm climbing him. I'm immediately reaching around his head. I'm not holding on yet. I'm walking him, pushing his hips lower so that I can get into proper elevation, the proper alignment just above his shoulders for my grip to fit into his neck. Again, let's say we started spider again, and I go up, break one. Man, I'm having a hard time here. Up, break two. Okay. Starting to cut. Man, Seth's starting to get up. I elevate, sit the other way. Notice how my arm comes through. Very, very important. Hand on top of the knee. This is his right leg. That's my right leg. This is my right arm, just as we covered in the series. Knee comes flat to the floor. I make a strong hook on Seth's top leg. I roll tightly. Foot on top of foot or foot on side of knee. Get the lapel. Seth, turn away from me, please. Why can't you do it?
You're killing my rotation.
This lapel right here, guys. Turn away right now. Oh, man. Let's say I sit up and try to get your back. Don't hurt me. Ugh, I get knocked back down. Very important, guys. If we come back, that, as Seth said, I kill his rotation with something on this side of his body. Could be this. Could be this. Could be this. Not really here to teach how to take the back right now, but the basic ideas remain the same. I'm controlling the corners of Seth's body, keeping myself safe, making sure that I break his grips whenever possible, and securing the back position. All right, guys, continuing in our standing pass sequence, a common position that you're going to encounter that's become extremely popular, due to, guys like Cobrinha, Rafael Mendes, I've used this position extensively, a number of other guys, Coyote, obviously fantastic in these positions as well, is going to be the reverse De La Riva. And now, when I encounter this position, I can, as we discussed, I can potentially shin circle. But for right now, I want you guys to approach it the exact same way that we did the initial De La Riva position. So when I step inside, so let's say we had hooks this time, and I circle one, circle two, and I'm like, oh, let me step in. I try to cut through, but this time I did it a little higher up. I wasn't able to get into great position, and Seth was able to attack me with his reverse De La Riva, with his knee down, his foot up high, probably his elbow underneath supporting his leg. Really strong position for Seth. Not a lot of room for me to force my knee to the ground or get through here. What this does is, like, if I think I'm going to slide through, I'm going to miss him entirely. That's not what we want. So as I come in, what I have to recognize is that by going forward into this position, I only make it stronger. So very, very important detail. Do not bring your foot up. Just extension sweep. See how you can immediately turn me the other way? Guys like Rafael Lovato are fantastic at that sweep. Very, very dangerous for me to put my foot up there. Keep it to yourself. So stability is everything. Stability has nothing to do with letting this guy get underneath me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go backwards, guys. And here's the other thing. Let's say you got a grip on my neck. I'm like, oh, that's got to go. Or a cross grip. It's got to go. A lot of times, guys, people will get a cross grip and the same side grip. This is a really, really popular position. You see Bruno Forzato. You see Lucas Lepri. Man, these have got to go. Too dangerous. I'm going to back up and pop my thigh. I use this no-gi constantly. It's a great attack because there's no way for him to grab my neck. I go backwards, hook strong. Extending backwards into space. Now, what you'll see, I could immediately shin circle and attempt to go back to the same attacks that we've been going. But for right now, I want you guys to transition to your knee over pass. So we go backwards, one. My hand is going to descend inside because if it doesn't, it'll easily come right back. We go up. I'm going to step backwards and bring my shin to the inside. Knee over. Now, as you guys notice, the knee over is simply an expanded version of the over-under. So I could drop into that as well, although for me, I prefer the knee over pass. What I'm looking for here, guys, is the following. I'm pressuring into Seth. I'm not smash passing This is very over-under style as opposed to more dead-on. I'm angled and towards. And now the real trick here is you'll see a lot of this stuff. I do not like it. Personal preference. I don't, you're affecting your stability. A big bridge by Seth could get me. I'm not saying it doesn't work. I'm not suggesting that. What I'm saying is I prefer something with more stability. So here's what we're going to do. Watch my footwork. I keep pressure, and now I'm trying to tear your groin when I'm doing this pass. If you don't want to let me out of the guard, that's on you. But here we are. I'm just going to anchor so I don't have to put too much pressure on Seth. This foot is going to circle through the guard. So, again, rather than going crushing, no pressure, not wrong, but hey, I don't like to create that much movement. And certainly without the gi, this shit doesn't work. At least not on anybody good. Because Seth should not, how am I supposed to, the real question is, how am I supposed to get a hold of Seth's head from this position? I'm not saying it's impossible, but he's got two hands to my one. If I circle through and beat both your arms, I mean, rather than me thinking I'm pretty sweet, I'm a little bit more surprised that I was able to do that. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to maintain my pressure, and I'm circling my foot through your guard. And now watch, I'm going to transition my left foot out of the way as I use my right hook to redirect Seth. Now immediately, which direction can you turn? Seth is most angled towards me. As he attempts to utilize that, I'm immediately going to transition behind. So I have to recognize that when I pass to the front, I am passing into the teeth of Seth's defense. Doesn't mean it's impossible to do, but it means that, hey, if I can't get a hold of your head, it's going to be pretty tough. So I'll simply beat your legs to the front side and then know that your likely follow move is to attack me to that side and immediately transition behind you. So here we are again. I go backwards. A strong hook, please. Pop your thigh. By going backwards, drop. You could end up double unders, but most times guys will not allow you to do that. So we're going to end up over under. I immediately pressure in. My hand is simply up here, guys, to occupy Seth's arms. If I can get a gi grip, I will. No gi, I'll just drape it here and harass you. Because if I have no pressure, he's going to find something else to do. Because you told me this way, say grab my arm, things can happen. But if I'm harassing Seth to the near side, his hands are going to stay right here. As they do, I maintain my pressure. Notice how I'm keeping his knee pinned and I'm leaning the other way. Now, it's really not fun to have this one drilled on you when someone's leaning, so I'm not putting a ton of pressure, but I would be trying to split Seth as best I can, and because of my buddy, I don't want to do that, but again, competition, if your groin tears, sorry. So, we're here, rotation, use that hook to slide them away. Now, immediately, again, remember, Seth is going to try to keep this space closed as he turns to face me, so I bring this wall down, my knee comes over top, just as we described in the earlier part of the series with the trap passing switches. If he turns to face now, boom, I got a hold of him pretty well. Alternatively, Seth could have turned away and I could have attacked the back, but ultimately that's really up on him. So, again, guys, we're shedding our opponent's grip as best we can, immediately transitioning into one of our base positions, recognizing that we can bounce around between them and others, putting pressure on the other guy, and then making our reads. All right, guys, another situation that you're very likely to encounter when you're standing passing is going to be an opponent trying to spin underneath you using the reverse De La Riva position. Again, particularly at the lighter weights, guys, this style of movement is really taking the jiu-jitsu world by storm. It's a great way to play. It's a great way to move, and I guess as a result, it's very, very important that we're well-versed in how it works and also how to stop it from happening. So, as I'm standing passing, and again, it could be whatever approach you want. Let's go back to spider guard again. I'm like, man, how did I get myself into this? So this is kind of Cobrinha-ish. I wish it were this easy, wrestling Cobrinha, to get out of spider guard. But if you do manage to get through the spider, you're very likely to end yourself right here in reverse De La Riva. Now, what is Seth's goal? If you could spin underneath, please. Look how Seth brings himself underneath me, goes behind. I'm in a rough situation here. I maybe work myself back out, but against an elite level opponent, man, that's not a place you want to be. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the guard passing equivalent of a counterpunch, and I'm going to draw him in. So whether I start standing or when I encounter the position, I'm like, this is, let's say I was standing and I just said, hey, this is not where I want to be. I feel like I need a little bit more stability. I'm going to bring my knee just a little bit closer to Seth, and the idea is I'm trying to entice him into spinning. As he goes, I'm going to drop my knee next to his head. Now, what this is simply done is just blocked his path. Keep going underneath. No, I'll wait. Yeah, there's nothing magical about it. My knee is right next to his head. Let's spin a little bit so they can see. Okay, go underneath. Yeah, there's no way to slide underneath me. My thigh is flush with the floor. But one of two things will happen at that point. What will occur, guys, is that your opponent's going to bounce back out. And then we're like, okay, now we're back into a more traditional, we can leg drag, we can get into any of the other types of positions. He's decided to retreat from his attack. Or what'll happen a lot of times, man, is people just decide to go, all in and spin their ass off, which is frankly a really poor choice, but people will go for it a lot. So what I'm going to do is Seth spins and I'm dropping my knee. Now what they'll do a lot of times is because they'll feel stuck in the mud, they'll try to create momentum using that leg as a pendulum. And I say, thanks, buddy. And I just lean on it. Now, from here, this is the real trick. If we rotate, this foot is still up really high. Now I can push it down, but sometimes people get a hold of you. So all I'm going to do is watch. I'm going to extend my thigh, bringing Seth's foot closer to the ground, circling mine on top. And you guys notice I'm all the way behind his feet now. I've dragged myself into the leg drag position. So by simply allowing him to attack me, I got him to expose himself. Whereas if I'd have just gone crazy and pressured and drove in and all this other good stuff, not wrong, but I'd be playing into the purpose of the guard, which is defensive. So I say, hey, come on, let's go. You can attack me. I block. And again, once you block, they have two choices. They can retreat to safety, and then you can continue passing as normal. So again, here I approach standing. Seth spins in. He says, I'm back out of here. And I'm like, okay. I can continue trying to pass, and he can continue trying to play guard. Or option B, again, people try to force it. And when you get some strong, explosive, and/or on steroids, everybody on steroids is in jiu-jitsu is on steroids because they're all super diesel, and we're in an endurance sport. It doesn't match up. But anyway, he spins through. I post my knee next to Seth's head. This gives me a moment to extend my leg as I pin him. The reason I'm pinning him is because, watch, spin back out. Ah, dang it. Spin back out again, please. Back in, please. And I go, gotcha. Can you spin back out now?
No.
I extend my leg down, bring my foot over the top. Immediately, I'm securing Seth's pants. I hop up, yank his hips to the floor. It's very important, guys. I'm essentially pinning him in the inverted guard. Now, where are we? Leg drag. So, immediately I secure, assuming that it's a gi. I'm going to use the same position, no gi, by the way, guys. But I'll secure this grip, putting my elbow on top of his thigh. Ideally, my hand goes inside between me and Seth so that I can pass the guard. If Seth's hand is in between me and him, I have to knock it down. In fact, if you knock it down, you could trap it with your arm. Seth, can you open that hand now? What would you have to do in order to get that hand out? Watch the elbow recede, which would give me my opportunity to pass. But however it is decided that you'd like to play it, could you turn away? Fantastic. I could go to the back. So one more time. The key, guys, is simply denying him access to this spot. He spins in. I come a little close. I'm like, nope. He goes back out. I say, okay. I feel a little bit safer now. He goes all the way out, and I go, oh, hey, stop that. Free hand. Pin, circle. Even if you backflip out of this thing, I'm still going to dump him to the leg drag. So you're actually in an extremely safe position, guys. One way or another, you are almost certainly going to end up on my back if I attempt to force that reverse De La Riva spin there. All right, guys. Now we're going to get ourselves into another situation that you're very likely to encounter standing, which is going to be your opponent's De La Riva guard. It's a fantastic position that, again, many of the top-level players use extremely effectively, and we need to be able to counter it as a result. So as I approach Seth's guard, some people will grant you passage immediately to the De La Riva. Honestly, this is the longest range guard that I personally tend to use, and that doesn't mean that there's not another range. Again, guys with a great spider guard will make you encounter that before they get into the De La Riva, but a lot of times you can step straight in. Now, it's very, very important, guys. When I do step in, if you'll notice, can you lift your arm up, please, Seth? Notice how I'm next to Seth. Very, very important. My shin is in the bend of his knee. my knee is facing slightly out. The more in my leg is, the more easily he can turn me with this position, and the more easily that he can make that hook through. And again, you know, guys like JT Torres are phenomenally successful with positions just like that one. Very important to avoid. So I step in. If Seth does make a good hook on me, we have a couple different things that we're looking to do. Very important that I stop this from occurring. So if that foot is on me, any type of grips that are on me, I'm going to settle to break. I can break them standing, but again, guys that play this position well are very, very, very good at it. A lot of times they're very strong grips. They're going to be tilting you. At least for me, I prefer to lower my center of gravity so that I feel a little bit safer. Again, we're here. I can palm strike and I can do all that, but I'd rather do it from back here, where if I get knocked down, I'll get knocked down to my butt, and I'm very likely to get back up as opposed to getting tilted onto my face and then having someone hop directly onto my back. So if we have any grips, I can pop them if they're not settled in yet, but assuming they're settled in, I'll break them lower. This foot here, my hand comes inside and I step back inside of the leg. Very, very important. Because again, if I go here, Seth, can you bring your foot back to the inside easily? Are you super flexible?
No.
And he very easily did that. So assuming that you have some spaghetti noodle leg guy with a really good guard, you're going to definitely want to eat up as much of the room between you guys as you possibly can. Now watch. By coming to the side, I can extend my thigh and reach underneath. If you notice, I didn't even have to strip his grip yet. You'll see plenty of other times when you'll want to strip the grip and step across into your other standing passes, where again, I can 1, break, and 2, step across, or 2, as Seth hooks my ankle. You guys notice from the side here, pulling away is fighting directly against the hook that is his fingers. But directly laterally here, outside of my grip, there's nothing. I can turn, point my toes to the inside, take a sideways crossing step, and end up inside of my partner's reverse De La Riva guard or in my own knee through position. So depending upon how you'd like to proceed, you have a series of different options. We have 1, kick across. 2, which is very, very common if we're here, I can threaten, move the leg to the inside. But what I need you guys to see here is not just the opportunity for the knee through pass, which is kind of very readily apparent, but that we don't necessarily have to defeat that grip. So Seth's bothering me, I step to the inside, I pop, if this hook is here, I pop my thigh and I drop. Now if you'll notice, what this has done, I'm effectively taking a shot again. My shoulder is directly underneath, my shoulder and my trap and my collarbone are directly underneath of Seth's thigh, and I'm going to proceed forward onto his arm, stacking him up. Can you move from here, please?
Not really.
Can you move towards me with your hips?
No.
Can you move towards the front of you? Like towards your feet? You could go backwards, couldn't you?
My arm's stuck.
Yep.
This is hard to move.
The easiest direction to move is where?
To the side.
Which passes the guard. So guys, we come back again. I'm like, man, again, I could step back and away, but once I step inside, I can pop my thigh and I drop. I am not trying to lift his leg with my arm. That's not really a realistic thing to expect to be able to do. I'm simply sticking my hand in like a needle and following with my body. Now I'm pressuring forward, and I'm like, man, I feel like I don't really, if I'm staying on my knees, I don't have enough pressure to lift him. I say, okay. I'll lean all the way forward to get his hips off of the ground. Can you get your hips back on the ground, please?
No.
Can you flip over backwards? I could allow that potentially, or I could stop it, assuming that I'm able to get the grips that I want. Or I could turn it to the side, and I make sure that my head stays very close. A big concern, guys, is going, got him! And look at that. No room between me and him, guys. If I'm attacking, I'm eating space. So one more time, please. I'm like, man, this is no good. Pop. Ideally, my knee comes over the top of Seth's arm. I'll pressure in. Bump his hips to the side, and I keep my head very low. The idea here being if he tries to push, we can get ourselves into the arm triangle on the other side. I'm giving him a very, very limited profile on which to push. All right, guys, now that we've covered a series of standing transitions and different sequences that you can use to put together, I'd like to move down to the knees in the kneeling position, which is going to be a little bit more stable but a little bit less mobile. And you've had a lot of great passers there, have a lot of success with a gi, no gi, you name it. And I think it's very, very important to understand the transitions. So let's get to it. The person that I feel that I've learned a ton from in a position like this, just from watching, and then I had the honor of having a match with him one time, was Leo Vieira. Multiple time world champion, many time Abu Dhabi champion. Absolutely great grappler, and watching him pass from a distance was always very, very interesting. And again, when I'm low, I can be on 1 foot, 1 knee, or both knees. Effectively, I can transition my level just a little bit high, a little bit low. But for the most part, guys, this is going to be a kneeling or a 1-on-1 type situation. So I can be both knees down, or I can kind of hang out with my foot up. But if you notice, I haven't really adjusted my elevation. It's not as if I'm stepping up with my inside leg, which is implying that I'm look rather to cut my knee across. So here we are. What I'm looking to do, guys, is get my opponent to his side. When Seth's flat on his back, it's not the end of the world. He's equally vulnerable to both sides, but he's equally protected to both sides. I'm like, I'd rather have a strong side and a weak side. It makes it a little bit easier on me, I think. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to check his hip the same way, because we're at a distance. I'm not at range, or I'm not right up on him. If I'm passing tight through the half guard, we're trying to get underhooks and all that stuff. But if I attempt to do the exact same thing from out here, it's not going to work so well. So what we're going to do is this. I'm going to pin Seth's knee, and I'm going to check his hip, and I'm going to keep my spine low. Very, very low. My spine is low and my head is up. So I'm not giving him a whole lot of space to put his foot, to put his knee, all that other stuff. I'm trying to stay inside of Seth's left leg as best I can with my head and everything. I'm getting just close enough. Can you put me in your half guard, please, Seth? See how you can catch me? But if you guys notice, the bend of his knee is just too far away. Watch, if I get a little closer, you pull me in. Yikes. He feels way stronger. It's like if you got to lift in from here versus lifting in at your wrist. I'm trying to stay down by the south end of the forearm. So if you cut my forearm off in the middle, it's kind of like staying down here for my lift, as opposed to coming in here where you're going to feel real strong. I'm doing the exact same thing. I'm staying south of the bigger part of Seth's calf. So we're here, my head is down. All we're looking to do is create a scenario where our opponent wants to reach at us. And basically what you can feel a lot of times is people will want to drag you into the half guard or sit up. We'll get to those situations in a moment, but our base position here is my structure. My elbow is not in. Crush down with your left leg, please. Uh-oh, no good. Crush down now. So my elbow is out. Arm drag, please. It's actually much tougher than you might think, because my hand is posted on Seth's rib cage. Here, arm drag. Whoa. And I get planted on my head. I have to understand the potential risks here. It's arm drag from this leg. It's crushing from here. It's foot circling, so fence your leg inside. See how there's too much space and my head is away from my arm? My hand is right. The palm is on Seth's rib cage. The elbow is open and my head is down. Fence your leg inside, please. It should be very tough, even flexible guys. And then what's going to happen is I'm trying to make him make haymaker-style leg movements, and it'll be very easy to pass. I just don't want these little things. It's very tough to beat, very small motions. So here we are. All I'm going to do is I keep my head down, and I'm going to stomp my right leg back. I feel, all right, I'm outside of his range. And again, if I'm too close, this won't work. So can you lock your feet effectively? No. So I'm fine here. I'm going to stomp my right leg back, and I'm going to drive across, running, and filling my knee in on the leg drag. If you'll notice, guys, I was driving here. Now where's my hand positioning? As usual, to the far side lapel on the bottom, gripping, covering the elbow, transitioning hand inside on the bicep. Why? Because I want to get my head underneath of Seth's chin. If I go here, put your hand in between me and you, Seth's controlling that distance between us. I really don't like that. That's not what we're looking for. Again, can I make some things work? For sure, but it's not nearly as reliable. Jumping for an arm lock is nowhere near as reliable as securing the pass. So as I'm on the inside, it should always give me the track to block and pressure. So again, think of this Leo Vieira style like check position. I'm effectively using a shield. I'm just like, hey, stay away from me. I'm not pushing you away. I'm just not letting you come any closer. Again, I'm not shoving you away. I wrestle with a lot of people that shove me away all the time when I'm on the bottom. It doesn't even make any sense to me, because I would just stand right up. And if I could outbox you, I will hit you there. So assuming the rules allow it. So very, very important. Your pass should hold the other guy down. Here we are. Head is up, looking forward. Stomp. Now watch. I'm filling in space right here with my body. I'm heavy on Seth the second that I can, because right now I can't effectively move because all my weight is on the floor. When I put all my weight on Seth, I can do almost anything. So as soon as possible, I'm looking to put all my weight on Seth. I just don't want to do it until his legs are out of the way. So again, maybe I was standing past him like, I dropped into position, encouraging Seth to come to his side. Can you reach up and grab? If you're reaching in, like grabbing grips, I'm like, maybe if you got a cross grip or a lapel grip, I'm like, get that off of me. No concern. If he's holding my sleeves, I'm not really concerned. I just don't want these things. Check. Punch, guys. Bring your shoulder in. Run, run, run. Free hand is tapping the knee because, again, Seth's knee is going to come up high. The further this is for me, the harder it is to get. I tap it down. Bring my knee into position. Grip. Even if Seth's hand is on the inside of this grip, I'm not too concerned. Again, I prefer this. But the purpose of this is not to do anything other than stop Seth from turning in, which effectively it does, whether Seth's hand is here or here. So again, it's always preferable to have it on the inside, but whatever. Slide. Head position. Can you turn in, please? Can you turn away, please? This is yep. It can be tough. I could probably stop it with my hand and my head, but if he wants to turn away, I say fantastic. Arm triangle or sliding right to the back, as we've described before. So getting used to this position, guys. Again, I'm nice and low. I'm checking the knee, and I have a block between me and him. I'm completely relaxed. The top is the better position. Again, don't buy into the bullshit. The top is a better position by a mile. There is no need for me to be tense. I'm so physically dominant compared to Seth. I'm 20 pounds lighter than Seth right now. And if we were training, I'd be so physically dominant in that position because of the nature of the physics of it all that it wouldn't even be funny. All right, guys, our next movement from this position is going to be the far side leg drag, which is effectively the near side leg drag in addition to a passing switch. So it's pretty subtle, and it's a small movement, but it's very, very important. And what you're going to notice, guys, the better you are, the less you move. You'll see people flying around. If you were to put black belts on blue belts at the World Championships and tell people those are the best jiu-jitsu guys in the world, I guarantee you people would believe that well before they would believe that, you know, like Lucas Lepre or Hodger Gracie are the best in the world, because they're too controlled and too under control. Lucas Lepre, Hodger, that doesn't look like much, even though that's the key. Those are the elite guys. Those are the best. But at the low level, there's all sorts of craziness. Think about the difference between watching Floyd Mayweather and watching Tough Man, which has more action. Now, it's not effective action, but it's action. So what I want you guys to think about is being effectively aggressive and nice and calm and cool. Move at the right moment, and you don't have to move 45 times. So when I'm looking to pass Seth's guard again, we've descended from the standing position to the kneeling position. So Seth's on bottom. Again, I could have even found myself in spider guard initially, and I'm like, man, get out of here, or I can walk back and start to circle, and Seth opens his defense. I'm like, okay, now we can play. If you notice, I'm actually pretty far away. Do you feel like you can grip me effectively with your hands yet?
No.
No, I'm pretty far away. So it's actually incentivizing him to sit up, which I want to do, which as he does, that's a trap, by the way. But now, here's what we can do. Notice how Seth's ankle, I'm sitting on it. I can stomp my leg and then make a small shin circle, if I'd like, to make this just a little bit easier, just a little bit more stressful. Because right now, do you feel like you have a lot of control?
No.
Do you feel like you have more control now?
Yes.
By coming closer, I did Seth a favor. I let him get a hold of me. Now, would you say, so you say you have more here, less here. How do you feel now?
I don't really feel like I have any kind of hold on you at all.
This is garbage. This has all the negative, garbage for Seth. This is all the negative things about him being far away and none of the positive of him having a hold of me at all. So, again, not a bad situation here if you can circle your shin on top. Just stay low, keep your head down. If my head is up, by the way, sit up in an underhook and stuff. Nothing blocking that. If we come back, sit up and underhook. I'm using my head to control the space between me and Seth. So I'm like, yeah, you can try to sit up, you can do whatever. And if you'll notice, I always know which arm he's going to use, because unless he's been able to develop the ability to use the force since earlier in the DVD series when we tried it before, I think that arm has to be used as a post, as far as I know. So we come back, I'll circle my shin, or I can simply stomp. But now as I push Seth's leg out of the way, he blocks and throws his leg over.
No.
And I'm like, yeah, back the fuck off, Seth. I'm passing this guard. He says no, and I have to go to the other side. I have to pay attention. So we're here. Watch, if Seth doesn't throw that leg, I redirect his arms, and he's in a lot of trouble. So, particularly if you get some, kind of flexy guy, if we switch for a second, Seth's passing my guard, and he's nice and low.
You will, I guarantee you, when he beats this side, you will get this constantly from flexible guys. Constantly, constantly, constantly. This is the part where Seth transitions his hand and then rotates. Watch this foot, how he slides into the leg drag onto the other side. Dominating, controlling the lapel. I want to open my leg. Watch this. Put your elbow on the outside. And flexible weirdos will get their leg through. But I can be as flexible as I want right now. It's not happening. Seth's checking my bicep with the other hand or his head. Gets close. He's going to be able to easily hold me down in this position. Alternatively, notice how he can control. Again, the shoulder is the corner, but the lever is the bicep. So if he goes to the elbow with his right hand, I'm like, watch, go back to my shoulder with your right hand. Don't get me wrong, he's still controlling me, but I have some feel here, some feel of power. Open your arm. I'm like, not moving anywhere. And now watch when I spin through, I'm absolutely toast. So being able to transition is everything. One leg drag to the next. All I'm doing is a very subtle movement. I'm attacking and then I recede my head a little bit and I move it to the other side. So Seth, you're on bottom, please. So I'm blocking his ability to sit up. He can sit up, but not effectively. Here we are, I can stomp out, or I can be a little bit more subtle. And I'll see if he doesn't react to this, I'm like, oh, you're toast. I already know it. Because he's not holding on to me at all, I could very easily transition this shin through my head underneath. And again, as I hold on, this is allowing me to secure the grips that I need. If Seth starts turning away, anything that holds his near side down, even let's say, for instance, I know we haven't discussed this yet, turn away, please. You're not going to do nothing. You'll tear your ribs trying to do that, guys. So we're here, block, turn away, please.
Can't. Listen.
Make a big movement. Ezekiel, back attack, drag him down, north, south, you name it. There's a lot of trouble. So one more time here. Let's make sure we go through the details. I'm nice and low. I stomp out, and I start to pass. Seth blocks, throws his leg over. Now, if he stays flat on his back every now and then, you'll get like flexible guys that do this. If this occurs, sink back. Because when we rotate, the more Seth is on his side, so the lower this leg is. Watch what happens when he's on his back. It comes up in the air. It becomes a really effective block. Getting over this, I'm like, ah, shit. So watch. Sink back. Do you feel pressure? Mm-hmm. Can you push me away easily? Even if you get your hands in between me and you. Can you push me away easily?
No.
Why is that?
This is just leaning. You're crowding my hands. I can't even.
How about now?
Yeah, now I can get up.
He's going to feel very strong if I don't have pressure. So, again, guys, cool, calm, proper alignment, proper structure. You should be just fine. Subtle, small movements are the mark of an expert in anything. All right, guys, our next situation is going to involve our opponent deciding to sit up and this time attempting to grab a guillotine or anything like that. So if you're on bottom here, so again, we're back in our checked position here. Again, famously used by Leo Vieira. I'm circling my foot over top if I'd like. That's always a great thing that makes people want to go, hey, suck this leg back and start to get up. Anytime Seth leans forward, I'm immediately going to raise up and look to snap his head down into a guillotine position that's going to threaten him, making him want to either go back, or I can start to transition to his back. So again, the second Seth gets up on his elbow, I can raise up above him. Stay put. If you keep coming forward, that's fine. If you go back to your back, so I can use this to start to surf in and look to pass a little bit tighter. Again, the focus of this series is not on tight passing from the half guard or anything like that. So again, if you need resources on that, they're out there. Marcelo Garcia is obviously a fantastic example of great half guard passing. Murillo Santana, an incredible example of great half guard passing. Make sure that you watch these guys. It goes a little bit beyond the scope of what we're doing right now, but what I'd like to show you guys is how to bait the other person into sitting up so that you can attack their back or pass the guard. So when Seth sits up and he gets on his elbow, tries to underhook, I say, gotcha. Now immediately, my right arm, if we rotate, I have to understand that there's vulnerability right here for me if he gets a hold of me. So what I'm doing is I'm circling away, and I'm taking his arm with me. Now, there's a bazillion go-behinds, guys. You can use your hands. You can use your knees. Now we have to understand, though, with the gi on, all kinds of kind of shitty technique can kind of work, believe it or not, if they're much bigger than you. If they get a hold of your pants, you got to be careful. So make sure that you give yourself enough space. If Seth gets a hold of my pants, I break it first.
in a way, like if we're here and you're holding my leg, if you're holding my leg, you're like, whatever, and I go behind because it's without the gi on. However, if someone gets a hold of that material, if they're big and strong, that can be a problem. So, notice my shoulder's on the back of Seth's neck. I'm cupping his chin with my hand. Again, this is in a front headlock DVD, but the basic idea is I need to make sure that I control the distance between me and Seth. Big common problem is being out of position, drive forward. There's nothing stopping Seth's forward progress. Drive forward now. If anything happens, he's going to move me. As he's reaching with this arm, I'm dragging it, bringing my knee behind. Now I bring my hand behind. Biggest problem that I see, guys, is people immediately going to a seatbelt style grip and having someone reach behind them. If you guys notice how Seth's arm is behind me, he's effectively on the double, duck out the back. It can get pretty ugly. So, what I want you all to do is this. Move the arm out, bring your knee behind, circle behind with both hands. With both hands behind Seth's arms, can you turn to face me, please? It's impossible. No. I'm by definition behind him. Watch this as we rotate towards the camera, please. So reach your right arm to your back pocket. I'm chilling, whatever. Reach your right arm to your back pocket. He can start to get behind. I'm not saying that it doesn't work. I'm not saying that you can't get to the neck. But depending upon your opponent and the situation, if you want maximum safety, say, hey, no way is this guy getting behind me. Right here. Both arms behind. I can very easily spiral him. Get into crucifix, get into whatever else it is that you like. So, when we come back again, so watch the position that we are in. So I'm here. As I get up, what you're doing is simply crowding my head down. Now, again, we could go around the arm as we just did, or I could say, hey, let me go towards the side that Seth is using to post, because this is the occupied side. If you have, right now I have a dangerous side. I've got a free arm, I'm going to grab at you. And I've got this arm over here. What am I going to do with it? The second I grab at you, I fall. So, ultimate safety is actually behind me over here. I'm not saying you can't get through my arm. Your whole body versus my one arm is probably a winning proposition for you almost every time. But if I wanted to make my life even easier, I would go around. So, Seth's on bottom here. He sits up. I say, gotcha. Stay put. Get up now.
I can't.
Why not?
Because you got your weight on me.
What I'm doing, guys, is I'm pressuring into his elbow, forcing that arm to stay on the ground. So if we come back again, please. He sits up. I'm like, boom. If I'm pressuring into your hip, can you get up?
Yeah, for sure.
Wow, that was easy. You felt very strong. Okay, do that same thing now. Why not?
I can't. You're just forcing me to lean onto my elbow.
I'm leaving Seth's head out for talking purposes. I would never let it out like this. But here we are. Notice how I'm pressuring my chest into his arm. He has to use that arm on the ground. Take that arm off the ground. Watch what happens. Boom. So he's not going to do that. I can pressure, walk all the way behind him. Now he has two choices. Continue turning away, or I can drag him back down, crawl myself into my north-south, whatever it is that seems best to you at the time. But understand that the goal here, guys, is as I sit up, to connect my head to my knee and keep pressure on this arm so that I have no choice but to stay here. And as you walk around me, I'm like, ah, man, there's a very good chance the guy puts himself onto his back. Alternatively, if we walk around this way, it's not wrong, not saying that you can't do it, but recognize you're walking into the teeth of my defense. So you have to take according precautions, make sure they're blocking the arm. But again, with the gi on, I would really recommend that you walk around away from the free arm, because someone just getting a hold of your pants can be way more of a pain in the butt than it would be otherwise. All right, guys. Our next option is going to be, again, another type of counter-fighting style of pass, where I'm going to let Seth sit up. Let's say I'm having a very, very difficult time. If Seth is passing my guard here, and he's using that knees down approach, notice again, see how his elbow is? I want to drag, but it's, man, this is going to get me in a lot of trouble. I don't really have the ability to pull his hand. I'm pulling hard. Again, watch, if he pushes his hand through here, you do have to watch out. But Seth's not going to misplace his hand. He puts it on me, and I'm like, I'm having a hard time here. But maybe I'm playing totally defensively. When you have someone with a very, very solid guard, particularly if they have good guard and good attributes for guard and they do it right, man, it is a pain to pass them. So, and again, yet another thing that people abuse in the rules of jiu-jitsu, but if Seth backs away and sits up a little bit, I might go, hey, I'm going to get this guy. And that's what Seth needs to do. If you're dealing with someone that's a very strong defense, but doesn't seem like they're very interested in fighting, a lot of times the best approach, or at least in my experience, the best approach has been to counterfight and give them a little bit of something. You say, hey, you don't really have the nerve to step up and fight, huh? I'm like, oh, don't worry. Hey, don't worry. I'm vulnerable. Come here, come here, come here. And you get them. So, I'm starting here. Seth, can you sit up easily? Can you go back to the middle? Do you have an incentive right now to go back to the flat of your back?
No.
What happens if you do? Let's say he goes back to the flat of his back right now.
I can't really because of this.
It feels very awkward, and that's where we would have this space to slide in with our knee through passes or something like that. It doesn't really seem like this sort of thing again, you know, at the level, you know, of a guy like Seth or higher, you know, they're not going to want to do that. But if I give you a little bit of space and I say, hey, come back, again, you may be a little bit more likely. Same thing, even if I move to the middle and take pressure off, do you want to sit up right now?
No.
You'll feel jammed. You're right up in the person's face, so they're like, I don't want to do that. And also, I'm so close to you, why would you sit up? You'll just grab a hold of me.
Yeah.
Play an effective guard right here, and I'm like, this is not really what I had planned. So if I give you just a little bit of space, do you have an effective guard attacking me where you are?
No.
So you can either scoot in, or you might sit up. Because now if he gets a hold of me, go to one leg X, do all sorts of good stuff here. And I'm like, oh man, this is, again, not what I really wanted. So if we come back, what I'm going to do is I'm going to catch him in transition. I'm going to use the flop pass. I think this is a fantastic pass. Again, the masters of this that I've seen, you know, I've had a lot of success. The masters that I've seen are, you know, Andre Galvao, Terere, you know, Lucas Lepre is fantastic at this pass, you know, in my experience. It's really, really fun to watch these guys do this. So as Seth sits up, let's rotate. As Seth sits up, I'm allowing him to go shin to shin, and I'm dropping my head underneath of his. Very, very important. My spine remains upright. So even though my head is down, my head is not bent. My neck is still straight. I'm putting my head on his far shoulder, and I'm falling. I am not backstepping. Do not do this. I am falling in a sideways break fall that drags me into excellent position. Later on in the series, we're going to get to specific finishes from here, guys, but what I want you to get in the habit of doing is grabbing the top of the knee. Don't pull it down. Just hold, post your foot, and drag yourself away. I have 150 some odd pounds of mass. I don't need to yank with my arm. What do I think I can row? You know, even let's say, I don't know, like a 90 pounds one arm or something like that. I don't know if that's a lot or not. I have no idea. It's speculating. But anyway, hopping backwards, one, I won't get tired. And two, man, it's just a lot more mass and it takes nothing. So why shouldn't I? So my head stays down and I hop backwards. This is the key to this position, guys. Notice how Seth's knees are pointed sideways. My hips are very far away. Can you bridge me over, please, Seth? Impossible. No one is going to bridge me over from this position. And again, it's not because I'm special. It's I'm just too far away. If we come back, can you bridge me over from here, maybe? Ooh, he can at the very least off-balance me, at the very least. And at least Seth and I are about the same size. Imagine I was here on someone way bigger than me. I'm going to get launched. So, post, drag. Head stays on the shoulder. So if we come back one more time, I'm simply suckering Seth into a position that's going to allow me to get a hold of him. If I'm better than you, I want to fight you. I don't want to do 3 positions of the entire match. I want you to engage me. And, you know, a story of my life, honestly, in competition for the last couple of years was having trouble getting people to engage. But if you watch guys like Marcelo Garcia, you know, they'll track you down. They do a great job of that, and that's something that, you know, obviously I needed to work on. And if we're here, I'm keeping back. It could be the same thing. I'm trying to pass through, and I'll give him a little space. I'll even circle back to the middle because why am I circling the middle? 1, because I'm incentivizing him to sit up, and 2, well, the flop pass takes me all the way over there, and going from this side to that side is not feasible. But if I start in the middle, all it is a simple little tilt. So here we are. I'm like, I let him sit up, and I gotcha. Hop backwards, drag him down. One more time from the other side so we can see. So when Seth sits up, I hook his shin with mine. I'm gripping right over his back, getting a hold of the material. Head stays underneath Seth's chin. Spine stays straight. And I sideways break fall. Again, Seth has no base over here. When we fall the way, if you didn't grab my shin, I went, I'm like, that didn't work. But if he holds on, it's a very, very effective way to get close enough, guys, to be able to put your weight into play and pass your opponent's guard. I'd highly recommend it. All right, guys. Our next option from this, you know, kind of down on both knees, you know, more shielded passing position is going to be working your way into the over-under or the knee over. And it really depends on what your opponent is giving you as to what's available. Now, also, your body type matters as well. Seth and I are about the same height, If Seth were 6'6" and had super long legs, I could probably do all kinds of stuff to hopping between his legs because he would be so tall compared to me. Whereas, let's say, for instance, if I wrestle with someone that's 5'4", it's going to be much more difficult. You know, and that was something I noticed. Like, for my weight, I'm not tall for real, but I'm tall for my weight. So a lot of the people that I competed against, would have an easier time physically getting underneath me if they needed to, and I would have a more difficult time physically getting underneath them. Well, I would have an easier time stretching them out, and they would have a more difficult time stretching me out as a result of just differing, heights. So you always have to say, hey, not just what move do I like, but what's available. And when you're about the same size, most things are available. And so, Seth, can I borrow you, please? When I find myself in this position, I'm nice and low. Obviously, if Seth has his defense back, I can simply drop into my over-under pass. Now, if you'll notice, though, Seth was being very accommodating with his left hand. What was the first thing you were thinking as I started to go? Was, as I do that, he's like, no. And I'm like, crap. So, what I may have to do, if I'm looking to go for my over-under pass, is drag his arm by, drop in. Now, what's my first concern here? Kimura. So I go, uh-oh. Hey, that could happen. I could hide it. And don't get me wrong, you can drop into all this where you're walking behind and spinning into the arm and everything. But unless you're looking to trap the other person, I would recommend against it. And hey, even if you can get that going, some people have a really good Kimura, man. You never know who it is you're baiting, so be careful. So we're here. What I'll do is I'll bring my head close to Seth, and I'm trying to engage his hands. And once I engage his hands, then I can safely move my head. If I move directly to the spot, I'm like, there it is. He's going to go, no. And I go, now I'm exposed. Now I hit your drag. I'm like, boom, I'm on my face. So I say, all right, I'm not taking my defense out of here, which was my hands, because that was what separated me and Seth, until I'm in position. So we're like, here, I'll move straight to this head. Where do you feel pressure, Seth?
Left hand.
Into his hands, exactly. I'm making his hand stick to my shoulder by leaning. Now I'm over under. Alternatively, if I'm here, let's say this foot is on my shoulder, over under and double unders, or rather over under and knee over, are effectively the same pass. It's just how much of my body, which joint I'm in. So when I'm in over under, guys, I'm shoulder to hip. When I'm knee over, I'm shoulder to shin. Now I've still lost the length of my tibia and fibia, So really, I'm more shoulder to kind of a little bit further. Maybe got an effective, 8 inches more of width here. But it's enough to make a big difference. So what you have to ask yourself is say, hey, what's available? If this knee's down low, man, no way am I getting in my knee over. But if that foot's up high on my shoulder, I'm like, man, I'll pressure directly into it. Lift it up, circle my shin over top into the knee over pass. So remember, effectively they're the same move, guys. It's just, hey, how much space is there? So this knee's down. I'm like, I pressure directly into the hands. I could drop in. Or, again, if Seth catches me and my head's coming forward, I pressure directly into the hands, circle my head under, catch, drop. Or that foot's up high and I'm like, I'll move. Watch how I can move Seth's foot around. If I'm here and I have no pressure, I'm not moving anything, but I'll lean directly into his foot. And I slide underneath it. Now, it's not always going to be super easy. But I can move around, I can use my head. I'm like, oh, there we go. And now, I'm into my split pass. Oh, having a hard time with this. Into my knee through pass. Oh, he pushes me back into my over-under. Oh, into my double unders. Oh, into my stack. So, I'm always prepared to transition from one posture to the next. All that matters is just that I stay stable and I'm staying under control of myself, and I should be in pretty good stead no matter what.